The number one thing that's coming at you in any given moment in any given year is the battle with longevity. The number one reason you're going to fail is because you just give up. For me, the thing to conquer that is really to understand your why.
That's Matt Gray, creator of Founder OS. He's built multiple 8-figure businesses, published over 36,000 pieces of content, and helped over 18,000 founders build and monetize their personal brands. Matt attributes his success to the systems he's built along the way.
I've gotten to where I am because of the systems. It's not I'm where I am and then now I have these systems.
But underneath the systems, the scale, and the numbers is a philosophy that drives how he operates.
We are insanely generous. At any moment, I'm not worried about, oh, did we share too much? Did we give people too much that they're not gonna buy this thing? That's all bull.
With everyone posting more content than ever, Matt believes the real leverage isn't louder content, it's your story.
And in a day and age where it's so hard for humans to trust a friend or some new stranger, it's that story that can help teach people a lot of micro lessons along the way as to why you versus the next guy.
In this episode, Matt reveals the systems powering his business and how to build a personal brand that actually supports a lifestyle you want to live.
Let's get into it.
Real quick, before we get into this episode, we want to tell you about an awesome free product we have for you guys called the Paid Offer Playbook. If you're building a personal brand, but you're struggling to figure out your offer and what to sell your audience, this is for you.
It's the best. It's the top link in the description. Go check it out. It's free 99. Let's go. All right. So Matt, you have built your life around these repeatable systems. It's something that I've taken from so many of your videos, and it's allowed you to make some significant revenue, over $10 million a year. What was one of those first systems when you implemented, you were like, this is actually really changing things that I'm doing going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first systems was initially back with even BitMaker, my first business that I started when I was 20. We had a system by which we were able to go and recruit hiring partners for the company. So we trained full stack software engineers, got them jobs at companies like Shopify, Hootsuite, Facebook, Google, trained over 2,000 software engineers. But the big key in that business was making sure that these people that were graduating knew that they'd be able to get jobs at top tech companies across Canada. And so we had a system by which we would, scale outreach to these different companies, get on calls with like their head of hiring, go and give them information on what BitMaker was all about, be able to give them, enough convincing information that they'd want to go and then show up for a job fair that we had after people graduated. And sure enough, 90% of these graduates were getting jobs 1 month after graduation. And it was like that core statistic that was one of the most, biggest kind of inflection points as to then why an influx of demand came to this business. And it was that kind of, and inevitably what I tell people is like, I'm actually not that much of like a systems nerd, or I'm actually not big on operations. I just do this shit out of necessity, right? Like I want to be able to travel the world. I just got back from Japan where I kind of vanished for 3 weeks and went snowboarding. And so it's setting up these systems to be able to just live a vibrant life, not setting up systems for the sake of just setting up systems.
So a YouTube video is still going live while you're out in Japan. There's still being content published to all the various platforms.
Offers are going live, emails growing, YouTube videos are ripping, short forms all going, and I don't even know what's going on.
While you're ripping the slopes.
We're ripping the slopes. Exactly.
Man. And so, okay, so I know you have the content waterfall system. What others, and I would love to get into that. What systems do you have in place to where you're able to be traveling the world, you can kind of be wherever, in the world, but still able to produce a high level amount of content and also have multiple offers going out?
Yeah, so there's a lot there, but like let's kind of unpack it and just be as tactical as possible,
Yeah.
right? So, I'm out in Japan, let's say, and people are like, how is all this content going out? How are you doing all this, right? One core thing that we do, and we're actually in the midst of it right now here in LA, is we'll, for 10 days, film around 30 pieces of content, including 10 long form videos. We'll do about 20 short form videos and some other stuff. And those 10 long form YouTube videos will set us up for about 2 months of content, right? So we kind of go hard in the paint for 10 days. And then I'm able just to kind of like take my foot off the gas basically and just let the team then handle that. On the background, then the systems are, we have a YouTube Predator, which as you know is like a mix of a producer and an editor, who's then in charge of kind of taking that content and then delegating it to the right people on our team and putting it into the right workflow, right? So we have an editor then that's going to go and take that and edit it. We're then going to have, someone on the titles, packaging, all that's going to rip that part. And then a social manager that's going to make sure it's distributed all correctly. At this point, we've kind of got our brand guidelines, style guidelines, animation guidelines, all that core stuff all nailed down. So it's not like even each video needs to be overly creative directed, just because there's systems for how we do intros, how we do title cards, how we do animations, that I can remove myself from that and just trust that the final product is going to be on par, on brand with how we do things.
Was there a time in your content creation process of becoming a forward-facing founder where you were creating content in a way where you're like, every single day I'm trying to wake up and figure out what to post, or every single week you're like, okay, what is this YouTube video that we're putting out? And like, when did you start to implement those systems to be able to crank out 2.5 months of content in just 10 days?
Yeah, so I've been creating content in different formats for like 16 years now, right?
Wow.
Probably made over 36,000 pieces of content across different brands. But I just started building my personal brand around 4 years ago back in Napkin. So to answer your question, like, yeah, when I was first building my personal brand, I made the cringiest shit ever. I had no idea what I was doing. I was waking up, thinking of an idea, ripping it, then trying another way of doing it where maybe I planned 30 all at once and then do it. And I think it's just from that messiness of getting going that you find your own groove with it and what works for you. And I think that inevitably you can hear all these systems or the ways that we scale things, right? But I think it's important also just to like embrace that early messiness, right? So yeah, early on, that looked like being in the backyard of a Puerto Escondido Airbnb I was in Mexico, setting up some $20 Amazon tripod with my rinky-dink iPhone with a massive crack in it, and just pressing play and just trying my best to rip ideas. At that point, I thought you had to have it like word by word to nail the hook and the whole script. So there I am trying to like memorize 45-second videos and looking like a twat. And so, you know, we're talking like, yeah, as cringe, as embarrassing, as messy, just a complete joke, you know? But I look back on those days, like I'm sure we all look back on our journey, right? And it's like, that's what's required, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of like beginner tax you pay to kind of get going in anything, right? And from those experiences, I learned that I like to batch my content all at once. I don't like to always be on, because I don't want to have dreams every night of like, oh, what are you recording the next morning? That's fucking exhausting, right? Similarly, I don't like to have to go and, you know, edit the shit myself, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go and memorize stuff. Like I'm down to have a hook maybe that I need to nail. But after that, I just want to free flow it and make sure it feels raw, organic, authentic. And so I feel like a lot of these systems are born from frustration, right? And then you gradually realize what your own pet peeves are, the things that you hate. And then I'm just building systems just to avoid the frustrations and be able to hopefully live a more peaceful, calm, enjoyable experience so that the work feels more like play.
Wow. I picture you waking up and like
Fire
just like drenched in sweat. You're like, what do I got to record?
Oh no, exactly. Dude, I've been like sunburned. You know what I mean? Like you're like recording because I'm like, I think the sun's supposed to hit me like this, you know? But sure enough, you end up recording for 2 hours and you're like, my face looks like a lobster. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if this is how to do it.
Wow. So do you start with YouTube first, and then will you break out, like, okay, let's say this video is about your content waterfall framework. Great. And now maybe there's 6 or 7 short form videos within that you're recording in that same day, or how does that process actually work?
Yeah. So I think when we're doing it, you know, most dialed in terms of efficiency. So the content waterfall system is a system by which you can go and create one pillar piece of content and then repurpose that into 24, 32 pieces of content, depending on how you do it. So in the case of a YouTube video, you have like your 18-minute badass YouTube video that you're proud of. The way to go and kind of be able to break that into more pieces of content, I think, is going into it. 90% of the benefit of when you create any of this stuff is making sure you nail the pre-production, right? It's like preparation leads to success. The Super Bowl is won in the preseason. And so if you're going to go and nail a YouTube video, it's like, what was the research you did beforehand? How did you plan it out? All that good stuff. And so you can go and plan out throughout it, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go through these 6 pieces and we'll call them zingers, which are like those one-liners that maybe lead into like pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3. And as long as you say that one-liner, that can then be broken out after the video and edited into a banger short form video with a proper hook. So maybe you have like 7 of those in a given long form, which gives you 7 YouTube shorts, 7 Instagram reels, 7 TikTok videos, 7 X videos, and then taking kind of the best pieces when you kind of transcribe the script. And there's maybe great one-liners you said, or the different spikes you see in the YouTube analytics that become, 10 tweets after, 10 LinkedIn posts, a newsletter after, and so forth. Obviously, you're going to upload the thing to Spotify and Apple Music as well. So that's kind of generally how we think about it. And that's how that system can help founders, creators, people looking to scale their content without looking to, run themselves into the ground, be able to do it in an efficient way.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, like we were just saying, wake up and like, what do I have to post? And they think that they need to come up with a brand new piece of content, say something they've never said before. You are you're cranking out, what is it, 2 videos a week now?
Yeah.
Which is incredible. I feel like the gold standard is just to do like 1 a week. So the fact they're able to do 2, how are you able to come up with so many, I guess, new ideas or new YouTube videos? I think people often find that they have maybe said everything that they want to say already. And it can be hard to think about new content ideas or thinking about saying something in a new and fresh way.
I think when I look at this, I try to peel it back more to like just like nature and just normal humanity, less like creator brain and content brain and all this bullshit, because that's exhausting. And I don't like to live like that too much. So it's like, if you think about your normal life, if you were to go out with 2 friends on 2 different evenings and have a nice dinner conversation, you go and you sit down for a couple hours for a nice dinner. I'm sure there's like different things that kind of pop up that stand out as like being interesting in that conversation, or moments that you felt a little fired up, or an insight you gained that you're like, damn, that made me think different afterwards. I may be in a conversation last week with someone on my team named Sean, and he kind of taught me this little minor lesson just off of one thing he said, was that, it's important in life to view problems as puzzles, right? And reframing like, oh, some big fire happens. It's like, oh, and it's not really a problem. Like, it's just a puzzle to solve. And maybe that changes my perspective on some things and helps me that week. Well, that's just a great thing to maybe go share with the broader audience. And I'm not really thinking about it around performance and like, oh, how's this going to perform and how's it going to do online and all that. I see it more as an act of service. I think a lot of creators and founders, the number one thing that's kind of coming at you in any given moment in any given year is the battle with longevity, right? Is like the number one reason you're going to fail is because you just give up. And so oftentimes in this sort of space, why do people give up? Because they're just chasing these numbers, chasing these metrics. And at some point they're like, what's this all for?
Yeah.
Right. And I think inevitably for me, the thing to kind of conquer that is like really to understand your why. Right. And to me, it's really helping other humans, helping myself accomplish our highest human potential. And each video, each lesson is just like a little nugget that's an act of service to try and help some people out. And in that sense, it doesn't feel like work. And it feels like there's thousands of insights I have, because there's thousands of things I would tell a younger version of myself to help the younger Matt overcome struggles, obstacles, challenges, and whatever. And hopefully other people find that useful as well.
How often when you meet with founders, do they come to you and they're maybe feeling burnt out, or they're having those questions like, what is this all for? And how do you help them kind of overcome that? And like, are there questions that you ask or ways that you can help people figure out their deeper why? Or is that kind of something that they just need to go internal for?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of different aspects to this. I think it depends on the founder. It's very unique. I can tell you, like, I was just out in Topanga on a hike with a couple founders the other day, just on Saturday. And, they were kind of going through this battle of like, do we continue building this or do we shut it down? Right? We've been going through the waves of this now for a few years. And I don't know if we want this for the rest of our lives. And I don't know if we can keep doing this. And at what point do we, do you hunker down? Are you closer to some golden nugget where suddenly it's just going to actually strike gold? Or is it actually time, like it's been the 10th time you've thought this, to shut it down and call it a day, right? My insight that I've learned for folks like that is to kind of take a step back and view yourself more as an investor than an entrepreneur. And I found this useful as a frame for a number of decisions in my life. And in that situation, I think that an investor may look at it like having kind of a hurdle rate and a date. So it's like, okay, by June 30th, if we still feel like this, like in our mind, body, soul, and this business is not making us 100K profit per month, we will shut it down or have a deeper conversation where we're like, oh yeah, on June 30th, we said we'd have this conversation. And if it wasn't at this thing, then like we told ourselves we should likely shut down unless like some other thing looks like it's about to blow up or whatever. So trying to create these more kind of objective measures as an example to take a step back and be able to view it more, again, as an investor versus getting lost in like the emotions of it. That's just one example. It depends on the situation. Obviously, that's just a specific example, and maybe there's something there.
I like that a lot, to like kind of zoom out and think, would I be investing in this company right now? Or like, where are we going with this date that we said? What is something at $1 million that you could not do once you scaled to $10 million? And I know there's probably like a ton of different things, but what is something that you were like, oh, I really thought this would stay, and it changed a ton over the course of growing the company? All this talk about systems and making money online, it's got me thinking about one thing.
And what is that?
It's that people need a place to host all that stuff.
Oh, well, thank God that Stan's the sponsor of today's episode.
Okay, you got to be kidding me. Listen up, okay? Right now, you're listening to this episode because you got knowledge in the dome, and you want to be able to send that knowledge, send that traffic somewhere, and Stan is the go-to place for that, okay? You can host a one-on-one mentorship. You can host an email drip campaign. There's not anything that you can't do with Stan right now.
Don't forget the one-click checkout.
Oh, you guys want to make money quickly with a one-click checkout? I mean, it's just right there.
Stan does it all.
Snap, crackle, pop. You got to go check it out. It's the top link down in the description. They're huge supporters of this show. And if you're looking to create your online business, sell your first digital product, go check them out and go use our code. Top link. Let's keep it rolling.
I think a thing that you can do at 1 million that you can't do at 10 is, I mean, at 1 million, you can spend a lot more time onboarding every single person you bring on. Right. So maybe you're at a team of 5 people, let's say at 1 million, depending on how you're building a business. Like, yeah, every one of those people, you can go and sit down with them for a week and then check in with them all the time and just make sure like they're perfectly onboarded the exact way they need to go and they learn all the ropes. I think, yeah, as you get to 10 million, that's where like you either rise or fall based on your systems, right? That's where, okay, have you documented how you run your marketing, your sales, your onboarding, your finance, your ops, your renewals, and how different departments are supposed to interact with one another. And if you don't have that dialed in at 10 million, yeah, you're going to kind of fall apart because you no longer maybe can have that much of a hands-on onboarding process with new team members as you did at 1 million.
As you were growing, did you always hire the best people and like take less money yourself, like as you were really rising from like 1 to 10? Or were you finding that like, oh, you hired a few B people and you're like, this is not the way to do it? I'm just curious for us, like as we grow our company, like what do you recommend for hiring people? Because I think it's probably one of the most difficult things. And firing people sucks. It's not fun.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of the most difficult things. I've, scaled from 1 to 10 multiple times now, run 3 different businesses from the ground up. And I've made but just probably every hiring mistake there is. I've had to fire and terminate 23 people in one day because I overhired and the market kind of crashed in a market I was in. I've hired people that were good vibes and not good. I've hired people with the most badass resumes ever that were like 55 and had done this $50 million thing and $80 million thing that were just duds. And along the way too, I've learned that like inevitably, like, your own leadership is your own cap on your success. It all comes down to you. And really it's not the bad hires. It's like you fucked up, obviously. Right. So my perspective these days, I'd be lying if I told you like, oh yeah, I just go hire these like the best A player in the space, right? Because, we don't have the money generally to go and just hire some like FANG employees or some shit, So I think it's having that, A players mean kind of different things, right? But A players is like the right person with the right values and the right competencies and experience for the price, right? And oftentimes I see it as moneyballing, right? Like the Oakland days back in like the 70s or whatever, you've got a limited budget. You've got to kind of look at the players on the field and start to understand, okay, like what do we actually need here? And how can we moneyball this so that we get the 24K person in the Philippines to actually be that customer success person so that we can actually spend then the 120K on the YouTube predator that we need in LA who's actually a badass. And kind of putting together that fantasy team roster where, every individual you're getting is like solid for the price you're getting them at.
Have you hired quite a bit overseas? And do you have any recommendations for anyone who's listening to this who might be thinking about like taking some work overseas?
Well, I think first things first, like with hiring period, right? It's like number one, you need to have like the job scorecard, like of what's important before you even hire, right? Second is like what you're looking for as a hiring manager or CEO is you need to make sure you understand the ROI of this role, right? So you're going to go and you're going to delegate something to someone. Generally, like, is it cash flow, profit, sales? Maybe they're saving your time and you're going to be able to make more money, but you need to know like what is the 1 to 2 core success metrics they're going to allow this person to be a positive ROI for you. And if you don't have that figured out yet, and you don't know what they're going to do in the first 30, 60, 90 days to be successful, you are setting yourself up for a fucking lottery ticket. Like, it's more likely than not, this is not going to work out and it's your fault. And I've been there 1,000 times. That's why I can say this, you know? So I speak from the trenches and from the fire. And so from there, then you have like, you know what they're going to do to achieve an ROI. You know what their core metrics are, and you know your values as a company. And I used to think values were bullshit for like the first 5 years of my career, but I've learned over time, like, it really fucking matters, right? Like the code of your culture, right? And for us, it's things like being insanely simple. Like, don't bring us complex shit. I hate complexity. Second is like, bring solutions, not problems. Like, one of the most popular questions I'll ask people constantly when they're onboarded is, what do you think? Right? I'm paying you for your intuition, your judgment, your taste. That's why you're here. Or I would just do it myself. So what do you think? Right? We have values of, an obsession around quality, right? So we want to go and then find people that we think can deliver that ROI and hit the objective metrics, and then embody these values too, so that they're going to fit the code of the culture and be a good glue to the rest of the team, so that 1 + 1 + 1 hopefully equals 10 when we bring them on the team. So that's kind of my approach. And that doesn't change no matter where someone is in the world, right? The beautiful thing these days, depending on your company, is we're a remote company. I have people in Australia, Philippines, India, South America, like all over, right? And for me, I think more than anything, we're looking for people with like an all-in mentality, right? If someone's looking for a job, get out of here, We want people that want to be entrepreneurs. I think as we look to build a $25, $30, $40 million company per year, we need people that can build a $20 million company, $10 million company, $5 million company, $3 million company inside of our business and run different business units. And so to bring that down to earth with someone running, say, a $2 million business, well, you need to look at the person on the other side of the Zoom call or whatever the hell you're interviewing someone on and go, can this person build a $400K business unit for me inside of my business? Or can this person I'm talking to that wants to be in ops run a $1 million business unit inside of my $2 million business? And that's key. And I think when you take that frame, it starts to become a bit of a razor where you're like, oh, hell no, this person can't do that. Or when you ask someone, and I learned this from Elon, it's one of the core questions I guess he asked, and I saw this on a recent interview, is he'll go and be like, tell me a story of something extraordinary you've done, right? And you hear a story from someone and they're like, so actually I had this weird podcast I built and I built this business model off it and I was selling these things. And you're like, holy shit, that's impressive. And that's $1 million business. So I feel confident based on your proven track record that you could go and do that, what I'm doing too. So
I like that frame. I want to know though, 2 things you brought up. Did you fire all 24 people individually? Like, did that take all day, or was like, oh man.
Yeah, well, this leads probably to one of the worst pieces of advice I've ever gotten in my career. So to give you context on this whole situation, I run a cannabis media company that has about 14 million people in it. And I have a team at the time. This is like circa 2017. Cannabis is blowing up in the US and in Canada. It's about to legalize in Canada. And everyone's predicting this market's just going to go crazy, right? So we're like, okay, we've got our 28-person team or whatever, 30-person team. And we've got contracts with some big guys that are going to all start to kick into play, and we're going to double revenue year over year. Everything on paper looked good. But all of a sudden, Canada legalized cannabis and it went nowhere. Like, it kind of just was like, meow, 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 and the market just plummeted because it didn't amount to what it was supposed to be. So companies canceled contracts, the market went dry, and I had to make the tough decision to be like, damn, we got to make some quick changes here. So I called up a guy I know, and I was asking a bunch of people, how do you do this? And he's like, okay, Matt, it's really simple. You just bring everyone into a room and you just let them all know at once, you're fired. I'm like,
Dude,
no,
that's so brutal.
and I'm like 25.
Oh
Let's say.
my God.
I don't know anything,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Like, it just doesn't sound right. And sure enough, talk to some other people and they're like, no. Like, you need to do it this way. And I was like, okay. So, sure enough, that day, probably the worst day of my life, like, and put me into a 2-month depression. I think I gained 15 pounds. I could hardly get out of bed for 2 months. It was like shit. And one after the other, about 30-minute blocks per person, and just was like, hey, I hate to have to do this, but the market's gone this way. It's nothing to do with you. It's my fault as the founder. I overshot where this was going. I'm sorry this is going on. I appreciate the service you've given the company. If there's anything I can do to help you find your next thing, I'd love to. And I really appreciate all you've done for us. I'm again sorry we have to do this, but yeah, there's just no position for you here, kind of thing, right? And then sequentially just had to do that 23 times that day. And it was brutal, like brutal. And those people all took it like on the chin, and I'm proud of them because they've gone on, and many of them I'm still in touch with, to go and do amazing things. So yeah, I think what I learned from that experience, amongst many things, is you got to always take any advice from anyone, right? And obviously put that through your own values, your own filter, your own judgment, obviously, right? Or else you end up in some weird spaces. And second is like, scaling like slower is actually beautiful. I think I was like really aggressive, thinking we were going to be like the next Facebook at the time or some shit. And I realized that, just like slow, steady, sustainable cash flow, beautiful growth is like really where it's at for me, at least, because I think at the end of the day, when I think about like what I'm really looking for, it's peace. And I'd say that peace to me, if there was a metric, is just like quality sleep at night. And I literally mean that I can go to bed at 10 and just have no night terrors and no nightmares, and just wake up in the morning and just be like, all right, let's go do some good stuff today, and not be worried that, oh my God, what's happening over here, or this crazy fire over there, right? It's just, we just want peace, want to build something cool, serve good people, and live a vibrant life.
That reminds me, when I was I think I was a senior in college or a junior in college, Virgil Abloh came to speak at Wisconsin. I went to school in Madison, Wisconsin.
Dude, wow. He was doing charity.
No, he went there. He studied architecture there.
You're kidding.
I swear.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the only guy you guys got.
No, dude, we got this whole thing. He went to Oregon. He thinks Oregon's a better school.
Good. I like it. Just keep it going.
Anyways, so we had the GOAT come, and somebody asked him a question and asked him, like, Virgil, what is your definition of success? Like, how do you define success? And he said, I just want to wear sneakers to work every day. And I thought that was like the coolest thing. And it kind of reminds me of that, of like, what do you define as success? Like, I just want peace. I just want to be able to go to sleep at 10. And I thought that was so profound, because I think you look at Virgil and be like, oh, I want to be the creative director of Louis Vuitton or whatever it may be. And it's like, no, I just want to wear sneakers to work every day. That's how I define success. I thought that was like,
I like that.
super, super cool.
Nice.
On the topic of peace and systems, I think, and looking at you, you're someone who has a full team and you're generating a ton of revenue, and you've done it through multiple different companies. Someone might look at you and say, you're able to have these systems because you're generating X amount of revenue and you have a full team, and it's maybe not as realistic for me. I want to implement these systems, and being able to be like cranking out a ton of content and scale my personal brand and all that kind of stuff. Maybe they don't feel like it is super feasible for them, because maybe they're just a one-man band right now and they're just kind of doing everything themselves. To that person who does want to get to a point of scaling to 7-8 figures, having all these amazing systems, they're searching for peace, they want to have an incredible business, what would you tell that person?
All right. So first off, I would say that, I've gotten to where I am because of the systems. It's not I'm where I am and then now I have these systems. Okay. But to peel that back, I get it, right? Like, skepticism's great. Like, everyone should be skeptical. So first things first, like, what is a system, right? Like, let's just unpack this to make it dead simple, right? It's really just a simple, like, repeatable process by which, when it's documented and people are onboarded to it, it gives you time back and allows other people to do it as good, if not better than you. That's what a system to me is, more or less, right? And so then it's like, okay, well, that all sounds good now that I understand it. but this sounds hard. Like I hate writing shit. I hate doing this stuff. I don't even know where to get started. It's like, again, let's keep things insanely simple here, right? As an example, you've got to go and you've got, travel, let's say, right? And, when you travel, you look at different Airbnbs, you look at it based on certain criteria, you then go and book the thing, you book the flight, and then you rip to that new location. Let's say that's part of what you do in your business. I mean, that's a process right there, right? So what could you do simply to go and make sure that that becomes a system and it's documented? Well, one example, I've been talking to people that I know tons of people that hate making systems, including myself in my own way, right? Loom AI as an example, right? You can go and simply just loom yourself, video yourself doing that thing. And afterwards, after you filmed yourself just doing it, right? You don't even have to say all that much, just show it and talk a little bit. You can simply then go and stop the video and you just simply go to something that says make SOP, and it will just go and turn what it just saw into a simple system where it actually goes and transcribes everything you did. It adds in different GIFs as to what it saw on the screen you doing so that someone could go and do it. And then you're done. It's not some crazy thing. That's it. That's a system. That's your travel podcast system or whatever, right? Another example too that I think people lose sight of is like, you have ChatGPT right in front of you as an example. You need a system made? Just talk to it for a sec. Put on the mic and just talk. Hey, I need a system made that is better than Jeff Bezos, Charlie Munger, and Elon would make. Here's what I got to kind of do. I don't know. I got to figure out I'm trying to make content on YouTube. I have an editor. I have a thumbnail guy. I have a title guy. Like, how do these people interact? What are the core systems you need to set this up? Help me out here. If you have any questions before making the system, just let me know. It's like, no, good to go. Bam. And then just copy that to a Google Doc, share it with your team members. Give it a quick edit, obviously. Don't just trust it like verbatim. And then rip it, And again, everything too, it's like we're not seeking perfection here, right? We're just seeking to go from chaos and messiness to like clean and tidy, like 80%. And that's kind of how I see it too. Like if you think about your company like a home, right? Like I'm not a clean freak, right? I'm just more like, I like to keep it clean and tidy almost because it's kind of like a spiritual thing, like I want to come home and just be able to like breathe and feel like things are generally organized. But like I'm guilty of putting a wet towel on the floor sometimes, or I'm guilty of like my bathroom's not like the tidiest thing, but generally it's in order. And if you ask me like, where's the peanut butter? I'm like, there,
Systems.
Dude, I like that. I like
that. Peanut butter OS. So I just more say like your business is like a home.
Yeah.
Right. And like, we're just talking about keeping it tidy. Right. And like, you have a cleaner come by once a week. You have, meals you make daily, whatever. Right. Like just keep a tidy home, because sure enough, when you're building a company, it starts to become a bit of a house party. Right. And the question is like, are people respectful? Is it good? Is the vibe like cool? Are people all getting along? Or is it like chaotic? And when your parents come home, you're like kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Man.
I like that. Do you feel like personal branding is optional anymore? Like if you were a founder right now and you weren't on social, do you feel like you really need to be? You need to be there to be successful? Or do you think it is still optional? Like what is your perspective on that?
I think personal branding is personal, right? So everyone should make their own decision as to whether it's right for them or not, right? But I do think in terms of like where the puck is going, for the Canadian reference here, I think the puck is going towards people trust people and then they trust brands. And so I think it certainly is beneficial for founders to be open to putting themselves on video if that's something that they vibe with, or being not afraid to just to write a essay or a X article or on LinkedIn post or whatever vibes with them, right? Like I think you should first find the thing that excites you, that also will help you get in front of your customers, and that you can see yourself doing for a couple years, right? And inevitably then, you're not just, building some brand, right? You're putting more of a face to it, a personality, and something that people can trust. And so is it mandatory? I think it's moving that direction. And I think that those that are scared to get on it should just for a second kind of consider, is there like a minimum viable starting point where they feel comfortable? Because I think all of us, if we look at our own like consumption habits, right? Like you look at on Instagram, you're not following more brands than people. You're following humans, right? On LinkedIn, you're following humans. On YouTube, you're following humans, right? So there's no reason why it's not going to benefit any business to have the founder, who's like the core energy center of the company, just putting out a little bit of like what they believe in, why it was started, where they see the future going, a crucible of leadership they had to overcome to create what it is, why they're obsessed with the customers that they have, and why they even wake up every morning to do the dang thing.
Have you had to pivot anything in regards to information being so accessible now with some of your other products? Like something that we do, right, is we do a cohort that's live. So it's 6 weeks, it's us in there, we're helping people with their direct problems. I don't feel as impacted with ChatGPT or with any of these things like becoming very accessible to people. And I'm wondering for like info things, has that impacted your guys' bottom line at all? / what have you done to maybe shift where that's going?
I think it's important with any business these days. I think this has always been true, and I think it's just as true today, if not more true. It's like you kind of got to disrupt yourself every year, right? And so I like to think of it like, it's February right now. I'll probably go in sync with a few core team members on my team. I'm with, Memo, my guy here behind the camera, in LA. I'll go and meet up with another team member in Miami. I'm going to fly to Australia to meet up with another guy, and then back to Bali where I live. And we'll kind of go and look to basically kind of tear down Founder OS and then build it back up again. And by the end of it, it's almost like, imagine right now the business, instead of it being 100%, it's like, no, it's actually at 70%. And we got to kind of disrupt it and get it to 100%. So that means adding things, deleting things, making the offer more irresistible, the founder success better, the content better, like really analyze the shit out of it and think from the founder's perspective, like, what do we wish was here? Talk to them, understand what they want. Let's do an audit of everything and let's make this thing 10 times stronger than it is now. And we do that every single year, right? So I think that to me, in terms of right now and with AI and all these things, it's kind of just another day at the office, honestly, because of that rhythm that we have. And yeah, it's just another thing on the kind of table that is changing and you got to adapt to. That said, I think it's an opportunity more than anything, right? For guys like us, for entrepreneurs like us, for builders like us that are high agency, move fast, are smart, give a fuck, and are willing to go the distance to build something impactful and are doing this for the right reasons and view it as, I'm not trying to make a quick buck for a year. I want to build an enduring brand for 100 years. This is like what you fucking live for, right? It's like the game is changing, things are adapting, things are moving. And this is like an exciting time to like get on these waves, start using OpenClaw, start being really adaptive with GPT, using Claude Code and finding ways to maybe integrate this into your workflows to make your company more profitable, to have a higher margin, to serve your customers better, to open source it for them in different ways and be at the forefront of that stuff. And what an amazing day and age we get to be in where guys like us can use that agency we have to be at the forefront of that versus being some passenger or some victim or some backseat driver and just whining about it,
Have you used OpenClaw a little bit?
Yeah, I've got like Mac Minis ripping and
no, you don't.
Yeah,
How many do you got? You got like Timmy,
2.
Jimmy, and Ripley. They're working right now, dude. 2 of them.
Alfredo and Vito.
That's amazing.
My Italian little mobsters in Miami.
That is amazing.
Dude, we're like debating.
Yeah, we were gonna go.
We were gonna go, and then Braden's friend kind of convinced us not to
wait a day or two. We're doing like
wait a day or two.
Dude,
what are we waiting for?
No, because of like security.
So what we had learned, one of our buddies had downloaded one of the things from their store, and it had gotten like a crazy virus on the thing. Like, how it has like that marketplace or whatever. He had downloaded something and it had like a bad piece of code in it. So I'm wondering, I know it's so early. Like, has it been like just a few weeks that you've been on, or has it been a few months? Few weeks. What have you learned personally from it that you could share with our group?
Well, I think that these things, I view myself as I've gotten older as more of also like an artist than a CEO. And so if you actually think about OpenClaw and like what it was even created behind, the founder, I think his name's Peter, would say that it was an art project, right? And it was like him playing around with like the potential of these things just to see like what they could do and how it could help his everyday life. It was very much like a passion kind of wormhole project, right? And so I think for me, and I've watched interviews with him and I started looking at it and I saw kind of the waves happening around it. And it just felt like an interesting little thing just to play around with, right? And so in terms of what I've learned so far, yeah, obviously security and all that's important. But like anything, right? Like you can adapt, and you can also be careful as to what you give it, right? I'm not giving it my credit card.
Yeah.
And I'm not letting it just like unleash, right? I'm not looking for that even, right? I want to kind of, let's take some baby steps with this thing. Let's let it start helping me with some content stuff. Let's start kind of looking at things I do all the time. Let's look at my to-do list. That was the first thing I did. And I just started putting little crabs emojis beside things that I was like, let's try claw for that. Let's try claw for that. Let's try claw. So now my whole, I got my to-do list is a bunch of crabs. And I'm like, okay, let's start playing around with some of these things, And I think I'm still learning it and playing with it, but it's like, it's like those baby steps. And so, have it in Telegram, have it kind of playing around with some stuff. And I think it's interesting. And I think that we're in a moment right now that, 2025 was about these kind of chat interfaces, right? And now 2026 is the year of like agentic AI, right? And we know that's where it's going. And whether it's, Claude that then goes and starts their own more secure one in 2 months and launches it, or it's GPT now that they've acquired OpenClaw has their new thing. I think it's more than just getting on the specific, implementation of it right now. It's just being able to kind of play and learn this new way. I know, and I'm sure a lot of us have I've gone from like Gemini to GPT to Claude to GPT to Claude to GPT now is what I'm mostly using that way. All along the way, though, I don't regret going from one to the other. I learned each way and form. I got better at systemizing my shit and getting better at prompting and using it for different tasks and what I should and shouldn't use it for and how to prompt it properly. So I think it's the same thing with this, right? You just kind of get in this mode of it. You start to learn the ways and the thinking behind it and the mental models behind it. And then sure enough, maybe OpenClaw isn't the thing and OpenAI's got their own new thing that they've built in collaboration. And at least you can take those skills and move it on,
I want to go back to personal brand a little bit, but before I ask you that, I got to ask, are you a minimalist at heart? If you're stationed in Bali, but you're traveling so much, and it's not just like, I'm going to pack a suitcase for a week and then I'll be back home. Like you're up and you're kind of living a nomadic lifestyle. And so I'm just curious, like, do you have a lot of stuff?
No.
Yeah, I didn't figure.
I live out of 2 suitcases and I have 1 backpack. Yeah. And so it's all very minimalist.
I downsize a little bit.
No. And I think I don't know really why that is, but and why I'm that way. But I think over time, I've honestly just learned, for me, it's experiences that give me joy and I love that. And that's what I remember most. And it's not things. I actually, to some extent, have purchase anxiety when I just buy, just crazy things. I'm like, oh man, how much weight is this in my suitcase now? And at this point, it's one thing in, one thing out, So it's you got to be careful, There's a nice combination. There's a system to this suitcase, So, and to me, I read a lot of spiritual philosophy, all these kind of books, right? And it's to me, I kind of know what I'm gonna be grateful of, in my 30s, 40s, et cetera, and the kind of things I would regret. And to me, it's travel and relationships and epic core memories with people. That's really what it's about. Going and having some, Ferrari or some crazy clothing from Laura Piana is not going to do anything for me.
I like that. So you brought up that you started building your personal brand around 4 years ago, you said, correct? What happened at that moment 4 years ago where you were like, I've had success building businesses, but I now want to start creating content, share my story, and be more forward facing as a founder?
So about 6 years ago, back in Apkin, I was smoking around 14 joints a day, drinking around 3-4 times a week, and struggled with kicking those addictions. And I broke up with a girlfriend. My ass got dumped. And I basically started rethinking my life, right? I was like, what am I doing? What's going on? This relationship I thought was going somewhere. And one of the reasons it ended was because her father didn't approve of cannabis. And here I was smoking it all the time. And I just hit 30 years old. And I was like, man, is this what you worked so hard for your whole life? What's going on? And I had to look myself in the mirror and go okay, I got to make a change. And so I was on Instagram and I hit up in a voice note to Andrew Huberman randomly. And I was like, I'm just going to send him a voice note as to what I'm going through. And he got back to me in a voice note and was like, hey, like, thanks for the message, Matt. Yeah, I think one thing you can look at is, first off, cannabis breaks the chain between DHEA being converted into testosterone, which is the chemical in humans that makes effort feel good. I'd recommend that you go and see this Dr. Gillette, who's a functional health doctor, to help you out, get you some blood work and help you, yada, yada. So sure enough, I got some blood work done with Gillette, this doctor, and your testosterone level at 30 as a man should be around 800. And mine was at like 200. So we had like grandpa level testosterone here. And so I found that, to me, in my own nerdy brain, it helped me kind of gamify sobriety. Because I was like, okay, whoa, like this isn't just like stop smoking weed or whatever. It's like, no, like this is literally chemically affecting you. Like you have no balls. And I'm being ridiculous for, whatever. So I was like, okay, let's gamify this. Let's get that testosterone back to where it needs to go here. So quit smoking, quit drinking, started lifting, started writing, read a book that was recommended to me by kind of like a sobriety coach called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Good book.
Great book, life-changing. And in that book, as you may know, there's all these different exercises to discover yourself and tap into your artist within you. And part of it, and one of the core habits, is 3 pages of flow, just writing pen and paper every single morning, your morning pages. And so that's what I did for about 90 days. I was just there writing my morning pages, random shit was coming out of me. And what I started to discover was that there was like 99% of me that I wasn't like paying attention to when I was on these like substances. That essentially I had this aspect of me that like wanted to be more creative, wanted to put myself out there, wanted to build shit, create shit. I didn't really know what, but just there was something there I wasn't tapping into. And when I was doing my pages and when I started to tap into those elements, I was like, there's something here. And so the next logical step that just felt like that little next stair was to then just start sharing some of those core ideas onto Twitter at the time. I was like, oh, like I'll just share some of this stuff. I don't know where it's going to go. And it was messy and it was all over the place, but sure enough, it started to catch on over time. And people were enjoying it, right? This mix of kind of system, sure, but also just like the soulful journey of building a company. And some things I was going through and just some of the new habits I was developing to kick these bad habits and become sober. And so that was kind of honestly like my messy entrance into building a personal brand. It wasn't really to build a personal brand, to be honest. It was just to start sharing more of my story, some more of my writing, and just to see how it may resonate and help other people.
I love that. Yeah, on the way over here, actually, I threw on, I wasn't watching it, I just listened to it while I was driving, but it was your video about storytelling and how important that is to personal brand. And I'd love to have you talk a little bit about the importance of, when building a personal brand, sharing your story and why that actually is such a superpower, and why sharing your story is really going to allow you to stand out from other people and really scale your personal brand and also a business.
Yeah. So I like to think of this like I'm an avid book reader and probably read a few books a month. And I've done that for the last decade or so. And for me, and I think a lot of people I speak with, when they're going and about to pick up a book and they start reading it, there's kind of like 2 kinds of books, right? There's like the kind of book that we may go and pick up that's like a self-help book that's just like, do this and do this and do this and do this. And you're like, oh man, like, I mean, some of those are useful, but at a certain point I'm like, ugh, like just enough. Like I don't want to read that before bed when I'm reading. I on the other hand, there's those kind of books with like, they could even have some advice in it and all that, right? But there's like a narrative and you learn someone's struggle, right? And right now, as an example, I'm reading the book Open by Andre Agassi. It's his autobiography. Mm-hmm. And there's no advice in this book. It's him talking about how he actually hated tennis and he dreaded it. And he was just doing it because his father made him do it. And all the struggles and trials and tribulations he's gone through. And he's basically broke up until 23. And it's like such an inspiring story of this guy's kind of delusional self-belief in himself combined with just this absolute struggle for years and years and years that then make me kind of attracted in a way to this guy's like character and who he is and these kind of core traits, right? So I think that storytelling has the power to, more importantly, like connect us emotionally with other people. And as much as say you're building a business and a brand to maybe go attract leads as an example. So you think that you need to give like tactics to then get people to convince to then work with you. What we lose sight of is that people are emotional beings, right? And as much as we think that they're going to make some rational decision to enjoy you as a human and your brand as in products, it's actually more of like the emotional connection that matters. And there's no better way to build like real resonance than stories, right? So then the question becomes, okay, well, what story should I tell? You know, I like to be private in my life. I don't want to just share everything, but you don't have to share everything, right? I don't share everything and you guys don't share everything. It's about, you know, what are some of those different, you know, ways, the origin story of why you got started, maybe some crucibles of leadership that you've been through, maybe it's some big wins you've had, why you got into it, and, you know, the kind of people that you are looking to serve and why they matter to you. Like you can keep it simple out the gate, right? And just gradually start to step into some of those kind of stories, right? But I think it's a worthwhile thing because inevitably people want more meat on the bone, right? They want to understand actually who you are. And in any of our spaces, you know, in any industry, you know, most people aren't doing anything new, right? Like I'm not even doing anything new, right? Like there's people that do this kind of stuff, right? But hopefully what makes you different, right, is, you know, why you got into it, your values, your vision, your mission, what you're about, where you've been, that allows people to go, you know what, I actually want to be around this human. I want to learn from this human. You know, this human's different because I can tell more than anything that they genuinely care. And as I go about just, you know, being out in the world, I'm an introvert, so I'm not all the time, you know, out there at dinner parties or conferences or networking events. I'm kind of just doing my thing. But the thing that strikes me that we do different than a lot of people is that the depth at which in my business is like, we just care. And I think for a lot of people, when they tell their story, people can start to understand that depth of like maybe how much you love the space or how much you care for the customer or, you know, the real why you're doing this. And suddenly now like they can really trust you. And in a day and age where it's so hard for humans to trust like a friend or some new stranger, it's that story that can help teach people a lot of micro lessons along the way as to why you versus the next guy.
Yeah, that's something we learned from this last group that we had in our paid to be you cohort. We were surveying them like, why us, basically. And that was what all they said. They're like, your guys' story and you guys just care. Like, that's why we joined this thing. They're like, there is 20 other people they could go with that are talking about a similar thing. Yep. So it's so interesting that you bring that up.
Same thing on my side. Yeah, when we've surveyed people at Founder OS, like why Founder OS versus whatever. It's like, you know, Matt's energy was 60%. 60% of people say it's Matt's energy, it's its vibe, you know? And so it's just like, yeah, there's something there. And I think it's giving yourself the permission to start like tapping into that aspect. And it can feel really weird at first, right? You're like, so you just want me to talk about why I started this? It's like, yeah, just why'd you start it, you know? But but like suddenly people start to open up there and it actually kind of leads to like some interesting random stuff that's different, right? And I think that's the challenge these days is you don't need to just be better, right? Like that's easy. It's can you be different, right? And the cool thing is everyone's story is different. So there's a lot of you know, magic in just telling your story.
So why did you start Founder OS? Also, you brought up that every year you try to restructure it. And so why did you start it? And like how much has it changed since you first did start it?
So the reason that I started Founder OS was actually when I started building businesses at 19, I remember going to different advisors, mentors, and folks, and I would find they would give me some piece of advice, right? I needed help, say, growing the business, or I needed help, you know, getting some partnerships going. And they would give me little nuggets, but I always felt like, you're like 15 years ahead of where I'm at right now. And I know that you know how to do what I'm doing right now. Why are you not just going like a few layers deeper with me here? Like actually help me the fuck out. It always felt like they were just like, okay, you just got to reach out to some people. And it's like, come on, man. Like you just closed a $20 million partnership. It's more than that. Like there's got to be more. Like what was the contract? How did you reach out? What did you say? How did the meeting go? Like, was it at your office or theirs? Like, how did this all go down? Right. And it was just always just that surface level thing. And I remember promising myself, I'm like, when you finally figure out more of the things that you're going to figure out on this next decade journey, you know, you got to give back to people and you got to go and then share these things with folks, right? And do it in a way that's like not bullshit, not fluff, like show people the actual way to do stuff. And so fast forward, 10 years later, 11 years later from that, after building and scaling some, profitable cash flowing, successful companies and an exit, in sobering up, I realized like, oh, this is what I want to spend my time doing. And I had done a exercise. It was Christmas Day. I was driving through Banff National Park, and I hit an icy patch while looking at a mountain and skidded into a side of the road and tried to back out of this like snowy bank, and was not able to move the car. And so there I was, Christmas Day, like stranded in the middle of nowhere. Got a car towed to like a nearby town called Jasper. It was there stuck for 2 days. And I had a book in my bag, a number of books that I hadn't read and I didn't know if I would ever read. And one of them was called Ikigai. And I was there with my journal and just started kind of journaling around that, nerding out over it because I literally had nothing to do. I was bored as hell. And as I started to look at it, it's this exercise around like kind of what can you be paid for? What does the world need? What are you great at? And what do you love to do? And in the center there for me were things like traveling, building systems, design, copywriting, viewing entrepreneurship as a soulful journey, building distribution day one, building teams of A players. And so I figured, I don't know what I'm going to do as my next like thing, but I do want it to be grounded in optimizing and maximizing my Ikigai, like these things that really set my soul on fire. And so the next step then was to go and start, I stood up like a really humble little business called Soulful Entrepreneur, which sounded like a yoga studio. And it was a cohort-based kind of little community. I would run 6 weeks, 6 different modules around this kind of those vibes of helping people with those things. And people loved it. And I loved it. Probably more importantly, like I really enjoyed serving these people. And I felt like finally I was tapping into something that felt really true to my essence. And then honestly, that just started compounding. And I did that a few times, similar to how a comedian tests their bits. It's like these cohorts gave me an opportunity to test these ideas I had. Some were amazing. And I was like, awesome. Like I'm going to include that in my Netflix special. Right. And then some bombed. Right. And you're like, all right, let's not do that again. And I surveyed people after every single lesson, was like, what did you love? What did you hate? And I used that as an experimentation little lab. And so that then kind of compounded into then realizing this brand sounded like a yoga studio. And so I started surveying different people and asked them what I should call it. I was thinking founder operating systems. And a friend, Greg, got back to me like, what about Founder OS? And I was like, that's the one.
Yeah.
And so another friend, Alex Lieberman, the founder of Morning Brew, exited that for 70 million, was like, you know what, Matt, I think you should lead it more into this systems thing and a little bit less on the woo-woo vibe. I was like, all right, noted. And so started leaning into more of the systems approach. And so I just explained this journey because, yeah, it was a little bit messy, but at the core of it was understanding, what did I really want to create next? And that Ikigai exercise was really transformative. And along the way too, just subscribing just to iterating on this thing. Right? There was no like one crazy inflection moment. It was very much this game of just, I'm, making this little sculpture and just chiseling away at it like month by month, year by year. And we're still chiseling away on it, like I was saying.
And so when a founder does join Founder OS, do you find that they typically join after having consumed like months of content, getting a couple different of the lead magnets, getting a few of, less expensive offers that you have, and then eventually graduating? Or do you find that most people are just like, yo, that's it? Like, I'm down to just send it on Founder OS.
Yeah. So Founder OS, just for context for people, is this community, obviously, that now I've built where people can build systemized founder-led brands. And then we help them also remove themselves from operations over time. Right. Mm-hmm. And so when people are coming to me, they've probably heard some of these messaging, and it's anywhere from like, they just saw a post on Instagram that a friend shared with them and they're like, oh, this guy's cool. They join the email list, they find themselves learning more about it, and they join. On the other side, we've had people that it's taken them 3 years, right? Of just like watching YouTube, binging it and being like, you know what, finally something clicked, I'm ready, right? And I would say the average person back in Apkin is probably having watched my stuff, like say for 2 months, right? So yeah, it's all over the place. I think, there's that Google like 7-11-4 rule, right? Like people need to watch 7 hours of your content across 11 touch points on 4 platforms to like really trust you. And so that's what I'm thinking when I'm kind of on the science side of it, when I'm making content, and why we're doing this too, in terms of like just the science behind having a personal brand, is like trying to also understand that a lot of humans, as I am too, are super skeptical, right? I'm not someone that's like some impulse buyer. Like I said, I kind of almost have purchase anxiety, right? So, I want to make sure that like I'm making the right decision. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my money. I got other shit to do. There's an opportunity cost to anything. And so I can appreciate from just people online too, being skeptical and needing to see some different things that I've done and learn different aspects before they would trust me enough to ever join Founder OS. And that seems completely normal and reasonable to me.
And so is the reason you teach how to get out of like the everyday operations is because most people who join are looking to exit their business, and they're looking at you as someone who has had exits in the past of like, okay, I can understand how to like scale this business, build a personal brand as well, but then also like have that exit? Do you find that that's a common thread throughout people who join Founder OS? Or is it more so people who are like, I just kind of want to get out of like the day-to-day, I can focus more big picture, I'm looking to do this more long-term?
Yeah, a great question. So I think it's the latter more, right? Sure, there's some people that want to have exits and all that good stuff, right? But just a quick kind of like tangent on that, right? For about all my 20s, I was focused on building businesses that would have these massive exits, okay? And it happened once. It didn't happen many times. And I came to believe also from seeing so many friends doing this too, and family members and whatever, having equity in companies and hoping for an exit, that it's basically a lottery ticket. And when I started building businesses in my 30s, I started building businesses with specific criteria in mind as to which I would build them. Things like they must be able to get to $5 million in revenue a year. They must be cash flowing within 3 months. I must love the customer, love the problem. There must be founder product fit and some other things like this, right? And I think that at the end of the day, my goal with that too is like, I want to have an exit every year. Like on a cash flowing basis, I want to build a business so sexy, so good, and just be so valuable to other people. And it built so right that every year I'm having an exit. And so I think that why people are coming to Founder OS as an example is because they, number one, understand that the ultimate currency in life is your time, right? And so they want to get their time back. They want to do bigger growth things and still be aggressive on the growth side, but along the way, make sure that they're also offloading things and delegating and automating and systemizing things so they can do bigger things in their business and also be able to live their life and, take a week away from their business and be able to have peace of mind that they're going to come back to a business that's stronger than when they left. I think the second aspect is they want to build a cash flowing business, right? And, the economy is crazy out there and, things are changing, and, 1 year your margin's at 70 and then the next year something changes or, Andromeda comes out on Facebook and now suddenly your ads are off and now your margin's at 10%. Like things are nutty, And so we've been doing this and we've helped over 18,000 founders in this kind of stuff. So we've just seen a lot of permutations of businesses and a lot of things that do work and a hell of a lot of things that don't work. And I think why people are coming to us, and the main thing is like, I'm in the trenches actually doing this stuff. Like I'm making content, I'm building multiple businesses and the struggles and the wins from all of that. Second is we've helped, 18,000 founders doing this kind of stuff. And the third is that, I've had successful exits and I've been doing this for, like 15, 16 years now. So there's not a lot of people that can kind of check those 3 boxes. And I think that's maybe why they consider us.
Have you totally stopped running ads as of like late, or do you not believe in them at all? Do you think that like organic is the only way for you going forward, or would you spend a little bit on ads?
Yeah, great question. So we actually have it's pretty funny. I've never run ads up until like 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So I've never run ads. Everything's been built organic. I don't know how to run ads like as of like, November 2025. And so I'm learning that now. to be dead honest with
Wow.
you. So we're just getting going with it. And my philosophy is I'm not anti anything really. Like I'm very open-minded. I think that the world changes. And if anything, I think that in terms of paid and organic, there's like this symbiotic relationship between the two, right? Like the better your organic is, the more fruitful your paid will be. The smarter you are with paid, the better your organic hooks and such will be. And that they're actually not two really different things. Like the more you can think of them as like one sort of department that's learning from one another, the better. So our organic guys are on the call with our paid guys. We're sharing info back and forth. We're using some of our best organic stuff on paid stuff. We're learning from what paid stuff did well and using that in the next organic thing. Yeah, that's kind of my philosophy. So I think in the dream world, you want to be a goat at both of these things, right? I don't think you should be anti either.
Are you running workshops to get people into Founder OS, or do you find that it a lot of the time does trickle just from YouTube or Instagram?
Yeah. So in terms of where we're driving most folks, it's the rankings probably newsletter/email, lead magnets, but then the core platforms are then YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, TikTok in that ranking. So YouTube, LinkedIn, 1, 2. And in terms of workshops, yeah, that would be, so to zoom out for a second, right? You guys may understand this. I don't think everyone listening would. It's like, I think of building like what we call like a content GPS, right? Which is a system by which you can go and actually monetize your brand. And a lot of people have a couple platforms going on social, and they may have an offer that's irresistible. But what oftentimes people are missing is this middle layer, right? Like the infrastructure to actually go and drive like an eyeball to a transaction. And so, yeah, some of the tactics to do this are things like your newsletter. It's a welcome sequence with a FOMO sequence that can drive people over the first 9 days to convert. It's a workshop or a webinar or a masterclass where you provide some value and convert people there. And so, yeah, we have all these social platforms set up and are operating at a really high degree there. But the area that I often see like 90% of founders we work with needing a lot of help with is that middle layer, getting workshops going correctly, getting their email list going correctly, the different sequences there, abandoned cart sequences and welcome sequences and different email courses that then lead into their thing, right? So that they can actually just enjoy the artistry of making great content and providing a lot of value, knowing that there's the back-end infrastructure in place that's going to allow them to monetize it and know that the time they're spending on that content is fruitful versus it's just spinning their tires. They can't afford a team. And now it's just them ripping it, wondering where their next customer is going to come from.
That is so true. I think that people they have like the content stuff. And it's also stuff that me and Braden are trying to figure out. And we talk every single day of like, okay, if we have this offer and we have the podcast, it's like, do we also need a second YouTube channel? And then like, how often should we be creating new lead magnets? And how often should we be putting out or sending out emails? And like, what is the funnel or upsell look like from like free lead magnet or newsletter to workshop to another cheaper product to like the bigger offer? And like, do we then take the bigger offer and make it into like a light version that's like $300 instead of whatever? And so it's so many things to think about. I would love to get into kind of the nitty gritty of that kind of stuff. Like, how often are you guys making new lead magnets? What do you think allows a lead magnet to be something that will then build trust and allow someone to take the next step in the funnel and eventually go to that bigger core offer?
On the lead magnet side of things, essentially, there's a lot of different ways to do this, okay? I think that what we're currently doing, because we're also just constantly learning the newest stuff, and then what we're sharing with founders and people in Founder OS is like the newest game that we're seeing work. And so the newest way that I see things working is as follows, okay? So you want, first off, in any piece of content, the best lead magnet is the most contextually like relevant next step for the person to take that will provide them a benefit and allow them to quickly get that benefit and then take the next step that you need them to take. So let's illustrate this like really simply, right? Let's say I have an Instagram carousel that's how to start a personal brand in 7 days, let's say. Well, they go through that. They understand their content categories, their content intellectual property, their content waterfall system. Then I say, hey, I've gone and provided you with a matrix that you can go and audit your content strategy and lay out the fundamentals of your content waterfall system. Go and comment waterfall. They comment waterfall. ManyChat then goes in Instagram and sends them the lead magnet. They open up a Google Doc. In that Google Doc now, let's just say, there's a Loom video from me and then the lead magnet. And in the Loom video, they watch it for 2 minutes. They learn how to go and fill it out. And I say, hey, when you're done filling this out, book a call with us below. We'll take what you just did. Don't worry if it's perfect or not. Book a call with us and we'll get on a free call with you where we go and help you understand your audit, what's working, what's not, get you over any blockers you're currently experiencing. And whether or not you work with us or whatever, like we just want to make sure you're good to go. And if you want some information on Founder S and how we help folks in your situation, we'd be happy to do that too, right? And so what has that done? Well, it's contextual to the lead magnet they just got. And it's also enough information, but not too much that they're going to like work on it for 2 weeks long and just take forever with it. Or more importantly, just never do it or be like, whoa, this is insane, right? It's got to be enough to be helpful and then move them on to the next step. And that next step also has to be contextual to the lead magnet, right? The call that I just brought up is a brand audit call. So they've just gone through this audit and now they're getting on a brand audit call. So what's happening here, right? When you do this right, it becomes what I'd call like a slippery slope, right? In a good way, where they're like, they don't even realize how they almost got on the call because it was all just so logical and beautiful and really helpful. And I think that what allows you to do this? Well, let's just take a step out of all this, right? And where I think people get tripped up, and I think the core value that we have that helps us with this is we are insanely generous, right? So at any moment, I'm not worried about, oh, did we share too much? Did we give people too much that they're not going to buy this thing? That's all bullshit, in my opinion, right? The reality is that, sure, you're right. Some people will watch that thing and they would have bought something and now they're not going to because you shared that. But you also, because you were so valuable and generous, you widened your overall pie. And so, yeah, now you have, instead of just 100 people that saw it, 10,000 people that saw it. Yeah, a bunch of people now are never going to buy your shit. But another 9,000 are like kind of interested and 3,000 of them are going to book a call. And you just made honestly 10x more cash flow, right? So you won and your brand won because 10,000 people saw you be so freaking generous. And back to why I even do any of this stuff, like I was saying, to be of service. And the most powerful force in humanity is reciprocity, right? So just the more generous you are, that shit what goes around comes around kind of vibe, right? So that's like my overall thinking with lead magnets in a nutshell. And I think, again, the core word there is contextual, where people screw up as they're like, if you like this, you love my newsletter. Like, wrong, you know what I mean? Or, hey, you like this newsletter, book a call. Wrong. Like, it's too jarring, It's like these, you win or lose online these days in like these micro interactions, right? And any piece of cognitive dissonance, any piece of like, oh, what? Or, oh,
yeah,
like
you get sold to.
You get people to do that even just ever so slightly. It's a moment, right? But you do that even for a moment, you lose, right? But if you can think about, okay, they just saw this and what's that next logical thing they would do, right? You just want these nice, steady steps that people take. And that's how you win.
So how many different lead magnets would you recommend someone have? Like if they're just starting out, probably just one, or do you recommend having thinking about the different content pillars that you're talking about, thinking about multiple different lead magnets?
So how I think about it, I think this is like intermediate and simple and V1.
Sure.
And for some people, it's going to be like, really, I got to do that? It's like, well, if you want to do this in like a real way, I would recommend this. So it's as follows, right? Let's just say you're building a brand and you have 3 content categories, right? You're a founder in e-commerce building dog treats. Well, one is going to be like, helping, dog owners have healthy pets. One is going to be like the best routes, maybe to go on dog walks. And then the next one's all going to be about like health and wellness. I don't know, right? So those are your 3 categories, right? What I would recommend then is like, okay, on those categories, what are like the 10 titles that you're going to have, say, on your Instagram content that month? Let's just say Instagram was your core platform. So now you've got like your content calendar mapped out based on those 3 content categories. Then off of that, right, the minimum viable lead magnets is simply just going and saying, okay, on the health and wellness ones that we do this month, what should we lead people to that would more or less be the next logical step when we're talking about health and wellness? And maybe that's like, hey, the 100 trends we're seeing in the dog food space in 2026. I don't know, right? And then you do that with each different category, right? Where you kind of have every month in those 3 categories, 3 different lead magnets that map nicely to those different subjects that you have in there, right? So that's like intermediate, in my opinion. Beginner would be that you just have one really badass one that hopefully is a really badass catch-all. And then advanced would be you basically stop thinking about how many and you just start to think more about, okay, like what's the most badass content strategy this month? What's the shit we're putting out? And what is required to make sure that in each of those, there's a next logical step that's really badass and convincing for someone that watched it. And many times that's something you've already made. Awesome. And equally as, fired up is if you have to make something new and you're like, that's just what we got to do because we're operating at a really high level and we're going to make the new thing. And you should have a system by which you create lead magnets that's not so like, oh my God, a lead magnet. It's like, guys, come on. Like you're going to make 100 of these over the next 2 years. Maybe how do you do the title page? How long is it? What are the core ways you do it? Like you should have a template for it. You should have a person on your team that can rip that stuff in an hour and a half or less, right? And then it's not a thing. It's just, make a lead magnet around this. And then, make sure the titles of it are tested because as David Ogilvy says in advertising, 80 cents in your dollar are spent by the time someone's gotten past your headline, right? So your headline, your first line of your tweet is the one that matters most. The headline of your article is the one that matters the most. And the title of your lead magnet matters the most. So, how do you go and nail a title of a lead magnet? There's a lot of ways to go and nail a title of a lead magnet. Look at the best subject lines of your newsletters you've ever sent. Maybe that would make a good title of a lead magnet. Go and use a tool like oneof10.com and go and research really amazing YouTube titles in your niche and then use one of those badass YouTube titles and remix it for a lead magnet title. So there's lots of ways to do this. But that's kind of the 80-20.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I think that's so helpful for us. I have a question.
One thing I'll just say quick too, just to try and like, so I'm jealous of you guys in a way where you guys are here all the time in Venice and you guys live in West Hollywood, being able to like jam all the time on your business, right? Like my team's all over the place, right? So I don't get this like just by default FaceTime, right? With you guys, I'm sure you have this, but I'm just putting this out there. It's like, like the kinds of businesses, every business, but I know the kind of business you guys are building and it's not all that dissimilar from what we're doing. There's a lot going on, right? You have your audience on different platforms and your offers, and those offers, you have entry ones and core ones and upsell ones. And then you have, how do these things all connect and the lead magnets to it and the content strategy? It's like, there's a lot going on, right? I would have a massive whiteboard and I would map that out like every 6 weeks. Like, okay, the next 6 weeks of our business, like, let's just go. Hey, it's Sunday. It's that Sunday that's 6 weeks later. We sit down for 3 hours and we basically map this whole thing and talk about which changes we're going to make along this like core kind of flow we have, right? So like the core infrastructure of your business is all mapped out. And then each 6 weeks, you're kind of like, okay, we're going to come up with these new kinds of lead magnets here. We're actually going to try a quiz. We're going to try this new entry-level offer this time. We're going to remove that person from our team and add these two. And we're going to increase the price of this thing. That's what we're going to do the next 6 weeks. And then, okay, that's what we're going to do the next 6 weeks. And how do we determine the success of each of these things? Okay, that hire needs to get to this cash flow. This lead magnet needs to make us at least 20K. This new offer must have an upsell rate of 20% for us to keep it. Okay, cool. Now we know the success hurdle of each of these things. These are the 6 core changes we're making the next 6 weeks. Let's see how it goes. And we can always just come back to this like core infrastructure drawing you have on that whiteboard and that core rhythm every 6 weeks to kind of go back to like the drawing board a bit. so that it's not actually that complex, right? Like you have a map of your business and now it's just a matter of like, you're just like plumbers, you know, you're just like fixing a pipe there, screwing with like a little like screw over here and just gradually like tooling it up.
I like that.
That's how I would look at it.
We've been so reactive that
Yes.
feels so much nicer to just know, okay, this is what we're focusing on with our content for these next 6 weeks. With the podcast, I'm curious how you would think about this if you were us, right? So we have this show. We grow based on guests. We have found, though, that people end up buying things from us that listen to our show, even though we are not the authority figure here. We are lobbing you up softball questions to then extract awesome value, right?
Dude, not hot. These are hard-hitting questions.
Great questions,
okay.
but you know what I'm saying? Our audience, like we are doing this also, it's selfishly, I'm learning a ton right today.
Yeah.
Our audience is then getting this awesome value. They're learning a ton from you. If you were us, do you feel like we should be focusing on another channel in addition to this podcast? Because people end up getting our products from the show. But I personally find that like, I'm not here to talk. I'm here to extract and learn, right? And I'm wondering like, if you were us, do you think we focus a ton on Instagram? Because we do focus a ton on Instagram. But we're thinking about like really hammering into this second channel and diving more into our learnings and the things that have helped us a ton growing these businesses.
And what's also interesting is we had a conversation with someone, I want to say a few weeks ago, and we had just started this second channel. And then they gave us the advice to like not really focus on that and kind of just keep the main thing with the podcast. And then it reminded me of what you said of like, you kind of have to take advice from certain people with a grain of salt. And when we stepped back after the conversation, we were like, well, his business model is different than ours.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the advice that he gave us is maybe the best, but that's why we wanted to ask you.
Because I think this is like, in my eyes, Podland is you monetize from sponsorships, you monetize from you can sell digital products off it. I just don't think the percentages are so much different in terms of if it was our own YouTube channel. Because again, they're coming for Gary Vee or they're coming for this other person. They're coming for you. Like, yes, do we have a percentage? Of course. But it's so different than a traditional like YouTube channel. So I think that a lot of the people find us from Instagram and they're like, oh, I like this person. And they dive in like, oh shit, they have a pod. Like, let me go check out their pod. So it's a very interesting business model. It's almost like the number one networking tool ever on top of, you know, this other stuff. So it's interesting to think through for us.
So I know I had originally when I got going on YouTube, I tried a lot of different things. I viewed my YouTube as almost like a variety show where I would like try a solo thing, try a vlog thing, try an interview thing, like just kind of follow, like just went by the seat of my pants, you know, like I had no idea what I was doing. And I did quite a bit of interviewing, Chris Doe, Dan Martell, Sam Ovens, Hormozy, Layla Hormozy, yada, yada, right? And from more just doing the thing, which is really a key here, right? Is like just trying stuff. I realized that, I don't really like traveling to these things and it's kind of more about them really than it is about me, which is fine. But like, I'm doing this also to, I got things to say and I got brands I'm building and I'd rather it be a little tilted in my vibe versus like just traveling to Vegas to go and meet someone and then it all being about them. And I leave it going, I wonder the business impact there. Because again, I really believe in building profitable personal brands. Because I think that if you're trying to do something for the long term, there has to be like monetization behind it, not just even to fill your pockets, but that you can get a team around you to, again, get your time back. So I say that just to say like that's my background. So I've been through these sort of problems and questions and all that stuff, right? The first principle I would say with this is like Jeff Bezos talks about one-way doors or two-way doors, right? And I think when we approach this question, it's understanding it's a two-way door. One-way doors are things like getting married, right? It's really hard to get out of that, right? You got to kind of make that decision carefully, right? At least that's what I hear. I'm not married, but apparently scholars say you should be careful. So on the other side, there's things like what you just brought up, right? Oh, do we start a second channel or do we put it on our main channel and do we try this new thing? It's like, that's a two-way door. Like, and to your friend or the person you were listening to, right? It's like the thing that, I think they're also not indexing is like, you seem rather energized around it. right? And
Yeah.
energy is kind of
Yes.
the ultimate like fuel for a founder, right? Like it's not time in your day. It's like if I'm fucking fired up over something, time's not a thing. I will just do the damn thing because I'm so stoked on it.
And that's so funny you bring that up, because one of the things he told us was like, dude, that's probably, even if you are only spending 7 or 15% of your week on this second channel, he's like, that is still time you're allocating to this other thing where that you could be focusing on like just the podcast. And I'm like, yeah, but like we're having fun filming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And same with
Yeah,
this.
what does
I
it
mean,
cost you after
yeah.
this? If you got a bunch of insights, you're like, okay, Matt's gone. Cool. Sit down for a second.
Yes.
What was your main insight?
Yes.
My main
Boom.
insight was like the psychology of building a personal brand.
Yes.
It's like, okay, rip it for fucking 15 minutes. That's not actually your time. Like
Yeah.
he's ordering Uber
Yeah.
Eats, he's setting the table, you're fucking filming with this guy over here. And like, there's no time wasted, you
Yeah,
know? And that's
yeah,
again,
yeah.
like, not to overdo it, but like, there can be a system to it. Like that just like, okay, so the challenge is like, we don't have much time, but we want to do this. What's just the most simple, low weight way we get started with this before over investing? And like what I just said was like a way that's like a joke. You know, the set's already
Yes.
here, the light's there, the camera guy's there,
Boom.
the insights in the brain is firing, you got your neurogum, rip it. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of that, right? And so getting back to then this two-way door idea, right? It's like you have really then two options with it. It's pretty simple. One option is that you try doing solo episodes on the main channel, right?
Which
you're like,
we do every 8 weeks. You
okay,
know?
great.
Yeah.
And how do those go?
They go good. The viewership is definitely lower, but I mean, I'd say there's anywhere from like 7,000 people will tune into them
Yeah.
across.
So that's my instinct when I did a lot of research around this way back. Like this research is old now, but I think it still stands, I think. You know, you look at Ali Abdaal has a main channel and then Deep Dive has a second channel.
Sure.
You know, and there's a lot of other patterns of that, right? And so I then kind of made the distinction that it's like one channel it's not about one format, but it's like one core intention someone coming to, right? So they're coming to the main channel you guys have because they're watching interviews and looking to chill and just watch an authentic conversation that's an hour and a half long, right? Your average watch time on that's 20 minutes long or whatever the heck it is, right? And that's that channel. So yes, it makes sense to maybe want to start a second channel, which is these more solo ones. And I would give it its own like kind of brand, its own creative direction. Doesn't have to be overboard, but just like its own thing. And then and its own angle and why now is someone going to watch this versus the 1,000 other YouTube channels, right? Like what's your angle, right? Is it you're going to walk down the street out there in, you know, LA and there's a gimbal and it's like just like a walking 10-minute rip and that's it, right? And that's the whole kind of like format and channel thing, right? So you get going on this second channel around that sort of intent. And I think it, like I was saying earlier, right? Like you give it a hurdle rate, both energetically and like business-wise, right? So, okay, we are going to check in. It's, 4 months from now on June 30th. Number one, are we excited by this, right? Are we having fun? Okay. If we're having like over 8 out of 10 fun, that's a good signal. Second thing is, are we driving like either kind of inadvertently or directly 2 sales per month that it's making us 15 grand a month, right? And maybe that's even a sponsor or something else. But if it's making over 15 grand per month, we feel like it effectively diversifies the brand a bit. It lets people know actually who we are versus who just Matt, Gary Vee, Al Hormozi, whoever our guests are. So that's good. And the third thing is like, did it hit maybe a subscriber count or a view count or an engagement count, some sort of maybe thing that's like, yeah, there's enough, like we're doing a good job driving like attention off this thing. And that's how I would look at it, right? And just also be okay with like, it can be a failed experiment, right? Like you can pull the plug on it. Who gives a shit, right? So maybe even the hurdle rate's way shorter. It's like, let's just try this for 60 days. And if we like it and it's a vibe and it kind of moves a little bit, we'll do it. And if afterwards we're like, there's nothing here, then just stop. And that's no harm, no foul, right? The same way that in 2 months, maybe I stop using OpenClaw. That's not a fucking issue. That's just like, what went down? I was just playing around with it because I was playing around with it and just had an instinct that maybe it was worth trying.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I think it is worth something that we explore because it was energizing and it was fun and there were solid numbers behind them.
Yeah, I also think that we just didn't do it. We haven't done it long enough, and I'm very bullish on me and Braden being able to build a second channel. I think we just need
To
like
keep
put
going. Yeah.
time and energy.
Well, I think
into
there's
it.
something too, like a reference would be Colin and Samir, who have their main Colin and Samir channel, but then they have their creator support channel.
Yes.
I always like, for step one, when I'm doing these things like on a brand level, is like find references, right? Not to steal, not to copy, but like it's good to have references, because generally, like, we're not inventing anything new, right? These things exist, and then you can use the reference to like understand like how they think about like the brand system behind it, how they think about the monetization of these things, right? And so when you look at their main channel, they're interviewing people, they're doing that. There's very limited sale of their info product on there. It's mostly run by sponsorships, at least from my understanding. Yeah. And then maybe they may plug like their biannual conference thing they do there. On the creator support one, they more push the throttle on their info product. And so that's just like an example of a reference. And so, when you're talking to me then, we want to start a second channel, and I'm just kind of like corroborating it with that reference. It's like, makes sense. I could see how that would help. I could also see too, like over time, how it may decrease your dependence from this product, having to push the info product from this, and be able to have like, hey, if you want to hang with us and see our strategies on things, learn from us and get this thing, because it's literally, again, the logical next step. Whereas on this, it's just a little bit trickier. Totally. It's not to say it's not a great next step. It is a great next step, it sounds like, right? But it's just not as logical, right? Correct. On this, the logical next step is really probably no next step other than liking and subscribing, coming back, and just watching and coming back, so that you can get more brand sponsorships and raise the dollar amount there, which is subtle and chill and very organic, and how people are used to in this format. So it doesn't feel jarring or salesy. It will increase the growth rate, increase the subscriber rate, increase the revenue rate of this thing. Yeah. Whereas that other channel can be more pure play to the info thing.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the exact way that I think we thought about it. It's so nice and refreshing to hear that, because
we got rattled a little bit by this advice that we got.
I was like, holy shit, dude.
On the topic.
But that's why I think, again, it's important to have references. Yeah. Because if there's other references too, right? And if you just have some references, I think it helps like tremendously, right? Because then you can have like, but I hear you, but so we're thinking about being like Colin and Samir. I'm using this as an example, right? Who are you saying we should be like? And you can kind of dig in there. They're like, oh, but I think you should be more like this thing. And then you could research that thing. Sure. What's their revenue, profit? Do you like their brand? Do you like how it exists? Do you want to build that kind of thing? And if you're like, oh, we don't want to build Diary of a CEO, I don't know, right? Like, we don't want to do that though. We want this. Then you're talking kind of more, I think, tactically versus sometimes too in the air. At least that's what I find useful. Yeah. The other thing too with this, just on the subject of references, I think these days we also get kind of caught up in like the time and the day and what's going on, what's the newest thing, and these new references. Also, just not losing track of like, what have like $1 trillion folks or $1 billion folks done in different spaces, right? And not being afraid to have like $1 billion plus reference or 2 or 3, right? As to like, what would they do in your situation? How did they build up their thing? How did Ted Turner build his media empire, right? How did Bloomberg build his media empire, right? And looking at these real titans of industry to then anchor yourself insanely high, not trying to get to our next 3 million here, but like, even if I fall short of this $1 billion guy, I'm still going to make $50 million, right? And I think having those like references like a Colin and Samir, but then also having like a Bloomberg reference or a Ted Turner references or something like that to kind of then also see that. And if you need help there too, it's like, use ChatGPT, right? Like go and, hey, what are some like, this is our business. Who should we be looking at in terms of titans of industry that have done something similar and figured this out in their day and age? And what would be some patterns we could map to our business? So that there's sauce there, right? To these people, there's patterns of these folks that have built multi-billion-dollar businesses. And there's things that you can map even to something as like humble as what we're building.
Do you think that can at all be maybe detrimental in some way? I remember, I want to say it was close to a year ago, we talked to a guy by the name of Oren, and he's incredible at building brand. He said though that if you want to build a clothing company and you look at somebody like George Heaton with Represent, it might be not in your best interest to look at what they're doing because George has been doing this for like 15 years. And if you copy their exact playbook, it's like, it might not work as well for you because George has 15 years plus of like running this playbook. And the reason why it works for him is because he's had, you know, a decade plus of like running that playbook.
Yeah.
Do you see that at all? Like, is there, I think
I think I'm missing maybe specificity. So that's my apologies. What I'm saying with those references to get deeper into it now, that's a great question, is, you know, you'd want to look at like the actual journey in their story, right? And learn like, oh, okay, when they were at our stage, you know, they made a conscious decision, like not to do 10 product lines, but just to do 2 and to have a media line and a product line. And we want to be like that. We use that as a reference. So that's what we're at right now. So I'm not, saying to take like the $100 billion Apple's now making the move to China. And we're like, we are now, you know, translating to Mandarin, you know, it's like, no, not that. Like, let's rewind to like, Apple at Reed College, Steve Jobs valuing fonts and handwriting and having that on the Apple One, like its own font types. Like, we need to have a distinct font for what we do. That's got to be a thing. And like another thing, maybe when you look back to the origin, is like this idea of like insane simplicity. And so you're not just adding on a product line to add it on. You're going to be like, okay, every move we make must have like insane intention behind it and a business model behind it and revenue behind it and energy behind it, or we will not do it. We're not just here to like screw around with 1,000 things. So we're going to learn from Steve's simplicity early on and only do the most minimum amount of things possible early in the journey. So more that than like the other.
It reminds me early on, I remember it must have been Mr. Beast on Joe Rogan talking about how he has multiple different channels dubbed. And so I think we were like less than a year into the podcast. We go, do we got to dub this podcast? Like, do we need the 505 podcast in like 70 different languages? We're like, no, maybe we should focus on, you know, growing the show.
Just get English going, dude.
Getting English going and getting some more guests.
Oh gosh.
On the topic of having like a logical next step and on personal brand, because this is something me and Braden have been, I think, trying to figure out as well. Like for Instagram specifically, ideally every piece of content you put out is like potentially talking about or leading to or talking about in some way, shape, or form like your main core offer. But for example, I'm really into travel photography or street photography. It doesn't necessarily lead to our core offer, which is Pay to Be You, which is teaching how to build and monetize a personal brand. How would you recommend somebody who wants to bring in other things that they're interested in, but maybe it's not like directly tying into the next step or talking about like the core offer, but it's still something they're interested in and it's going to help them build their personal brand? Like, what would you recommend to that person, or how would you recommend navigating that?
Yeah. So I don't quite agree with your approach of like every piece of content needs to map to the core thing.
Okay.
That's on a philosophy. That's not my brand philosophy. I would say that back in napkin as an example, like imagine a world, and screw the numbers here, but just to illustrate it specifically, imagine a world where 50% of your content maps in some way to the brand ecosystem that includes your offer. So say your offer in your case is around personal brands and monetization. What are the pieces of that, right? There's selling something online. There is differentiating yourself online. And there is telling your story online. So that's that whole 50%, right? Is that kind of stuff. Now, as an example, like just in that 50%, one of those that I just mentioned was like telling your story. So let's get to the other 50%, right? Which is like you're building a brand, right? So it can't just be constant, just like hammering people with like a message constantly, because people also want to know like who you are, what makes you tick, and even part of your brand. First off, it's personal brand, personal, and second is like part of it is like telling your story. Let's just say under this example, right? In terms of that was kind of a pillar. So it's like it would make sense then that you're telling your story and you're getting a bit personal, and people understand what you're all about. And I think that's really important, you know. And you guys had mentioned too that a lot of people come to you because of, you know, your energy and vibe. And I also said that that's something for me too, right? So it's like that's your opportunity to build the emotional connection, to tell the story, to exemplify what you're talking about, and to, again, differentiate yourself versus the other folks that may be doing this kind of stuff, right? So that, maybe, you have this weird also kind of side niche of like, it's like skateboarders coming to you for that kind of stuff. And more the streetwear Stussy type folks are like interested also in like your thing. And they understand that you understand that kind of cool world and come from that angle. And so like you attract that kind of like psychographic. And that's the thing I'll say is like one individual who, really tipped me onto entrepreneurship 20 years ago was Tim Ferriss, right? And I think he's, tipped, millions and millions of people onto it, right?
Same.
And so when you look at Tim, right, I think there's like an interesting thing that I think about, right? Which is like, I don't know, 25 years later, like what's Tim's niche? Like, I don't really think he has a niche, right? I think that he's built an enduring brand off of his curiosity. And I think that if you were to more dissect it, I think at least for me, comes down to he's attracted a psychographic, which is he talks about all these things he's interested in and these weird guests and these weird things he wants to do. And yeah, sure, maybe it's rooted sometimes in like nutrition, performance, productivity, travel, I don't know, right? But the combination of all that attracts like a certain kind of human, right? And then he serves those humans, right? And so similarly, like you start to do the skateboarding and photography and streetwear and this, and then also the personal branding side, and it starts to attract a certain psychographic that's kind of weird and odd. But the beautiful thing about the internet is like you can find your own little corner of it, right? And every corner of the internet is an easy $10 million a year business if you do it right. And so it's just being okay with like finding your own little corner, your own little wedge, and then just like, and attracting that psychographic. And it may be kind of really hard to name, right? Like Joe Rogan's I would say is more of a psychographic, Huberman is a psychographic. Like these guys' niche is like, I don't really know what it is, but I know when I'm in a sauna and there's another dude over there, like I'm sure in the first 5 minutes of our conversation, somehow Huberman's going to come up. Yeah. It's like, that's the niche, right? It's like people that are into saunas and this and want human performance and are into like the science of their health and all that. Like, that's how I see it, at least.
No, and I think you're so right, because the next logical step from 4-Hour Workweek would have been something about business. And it was like the 4-Hour Body. And you're like, what does this guy know about health? And it was just this super famous book. And I read it and it was amazing. And same thing with our show, right? You're not just going to have on, like, we're going to have a guy like Matt on. We're also going to have someone who might be, we're having the CMO of Nike on in a few weeks. Like that's a totally different ballpark of guests. And then we'll have another person on that's in this space, but they all kind of exist in this ecosystem that someone that's into business, entrepreneurship, personal brand, you're going to find those combos interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it was just like, all right, if we are teaching about building and monetizing a personal brand, obviously we're building our personal brands, like we have that, but it's like, man, like, do we just gotta like, I was just nervous about the personal brand or our brand turning into just teaching about building a brand. Cause I hate that. I hate when it's like someone who,
me too.
Yeah,
they've only built their brand around teaching someone how to do the thing.
Yeah.
But I really like how you thought about it. It's like, 50% can be teaching it and, telling a story while you're teaching it. And the other part is just like the fucking stuff.
And I think off of what you're saying too, just one thing I think about a lot too is like intuition, right? And like your intuition there too is like, I hate when people do that, right? And there's something there, right? Like you don't want to build something you hate the next 5 years. That's brutal, right? Maybe it was about 6 years ago. I was building a business for 5 months that I hated. And it was because at the time I knew this business was going to be like a $200-300 million business. And I had negotiated, 60% equity in this. I could see where it was going. It was clear as day, right? But I hated building this thing. And there was 2 co-founders in it. I hate co-founders, not like, I just don't build businesses with other people like that. I always want to own 97% plus of my businesses just because that's how I do things. And so this thing was not fitting the criteria, but I could see the money pot. And I was like, so my mind and my head was like, Matt, fucking go for it. But my heart was like, I don't know. And my gut was like, come on, man, don't make us do this. And I remember being on a call with my therapist explaining this. And she's like, so like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to build the thing. Right. She's like, what do you mean you don't know? Right. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I can't say no to this. I mean, this is like the freaking opportunity you wait for your whole life. Right. She's like, Matt, let me explain something to you. There's this concept called a whole body yes. Right. This idea of like paying attention to what your mind is telling you, what your heart is telling you, and what your gut is telling you, right? And when something's right for you as a human, like you'll feel that energy all aligned in your body, right? Your heart's like, let's go. Sorry, your head's like, let's go. Your heart's just like full and just like fired up, and your gut's like, let's fucking get it, right? And it wasn't that. And I didn't know the other thing I was going to build. I just kind of felt like, yeah, this was not a whole body yes. And it was scary as hell. Like one of the scariest, weirdest things ever, because I'd never done this before, never lived like this. And I was like, all right, here's an experimentation and just like trusting this therapist, I guess. And I said no to the thing, gave back the equity, told my friend, hey, just, wishing you all the best and I'm here to support you, but I can't do this. Sure enough, fast forward 6 years later, it is a $100 million plus company. So I was right there. But I look back on it and don't regret it at all because, yeah, similar to what you're going through in this, right? It's like, I don't want to build something I hate, right? And so I think it's also just like tuning into that, right? It's like if you're excited, and that's what we were talking about with the other thing too, if you're excited by something and if you're jazzed up by it, I mean, I'm also not saying to go and find 1,000 shiny toys and just rip it either, right? Like we're trying to be focused, but you guys are smart guys, right? And there's these little angles or things you want to try and all that. There should be spaciousness also for that playfulness and that experimentation in what you're doing.
And I even think about it like with Matt's brand, you were using travel, you love to travel, but then you make this really cool YouTube video out of it. So like you're crossing something that you love with like something that you like in business. And it's so much more of an entertaining piece of content than someone sitting behind a desk. Like I love those videos where you're like out in the fucking mountains and you're telling some piece of advice. I'm like, this is just different. And it's a similar format of someone that is sitting behind a desk, but it's much more entertaining and you're crossing off like something that you love to do. So it's just like, you know what I mean? With the content that we're doing, I think that we need to like channel that because we we each have 16 things that we enjoy doing. And that's the fun of it all,
Yeah. The videos that you put out, I think there was like one specific one that you put mountain biking and the Dolomites.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that rips. And Dolomites is like number one on my bucket list of places I want to go visit because it's incredible. On the topic of just specific YouTube videos, you just put out one with Sam Colder, and that was like a big inspiration to us because we first started with cameras, and he's the fucking goat.
Yeah.
This is like a really technical question. Did you film it and then flip it in post? Like, because I saw so many comments of people being like, man, you learned to write backwards super well. Like, I was like, how the fuck did they film it? Was it like you filmed it regular and then you flipped it in post?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that, it's like I have this like value of like always being transparent, giving people like what they ask for, like always like just being really real and honest. But after reading the comments of that video, I'm almost tempted just to like leave that mysteriousness. No, but in all honesty, it was in post.
Okay, I was like,
but it's like I could just be that backwards handwriting guy for the next decade. People are like, this guy's a savant.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I remember I was like, is he fucking writing backwards? Like it's so
yeah, I know, and doing it so casually too. Just no big deal. It's like this guy's literally the most interesting man alive.
Dude, yeah, man.
That was so funny.
And then also another question, random. Were you already connected with Huberman when you voice memoed him, or did he just see your?
Wow.
And I'll just say that there's I've talked about a lot of mistakes and embarrassing things here and different challenges and whatever. One thing though that I've learned, and so I've been thinking I had to do a wedding speech at my brother's wedding in Calgary just a few weeks ago. And it got me thinking about like, what are like childhood stories for my brother and all this. But then it got me even just recounting like my own childhood and all this stuff. And when I was younger, my dad was super, super strict, right? Like of all my friends and friends, this guy was like a drill sergeant, okay? And it's me and then I have 4 younger siblings. I'm the oldest of 5. And every day after school for about 4 summers, every day, during the summer, my dad would we had like a 2-acre forest in our backyard, and he had some weird thing where he didn't want any weeds in this forest. So he would just get us out there with a pail each, just picking weeds in this forest, like the most monotonous
by hand.
By hand, just picking weeds in a forest, right? It was the most boring thing ever. And he was like, oh, there's a little thing there. It's like, oh my Lord. So it was like some of the, like these kinds of things, these happened all the time, right? And these were like the hardest things I've ever done in my life, like just the most monotonous thing. And I was getting paid nothing. So it just sucked. And so fast forward, when I was building my first business, BitMaker, I didn't know how to go and build a technology school. I didn't know how to go and get people hired by big tech companies. I didn't know any of this. The only thing though I knew that I could probably do is just go and email as many humans as possible and just view it as a numbers game. Like if I can just get in front of a lot of people, some way, somehow, like I'm just going to rely on probability. And even if it's 0.1% of people that end up working with me or hiring from these things, I'll take those odds any day, right? It's like, you got to go pluck 1,000 weeds. Well, then you got to go send 1,000 emails. Like, and as long as you get one of 1,000, there's one hiring partner, and just keep doing that. And I was always able to kind of do that kind of volume and that level of just like rolling up my sleeves and getting after it. It was hard, but the hardness was not unfamiliar to me because of my upbringing. And so when it comes like the Huberman thing as an example, right? Then from all those messages and those emails from these businesses I've built like BitMaker and whatever, is you start to develop when you're messaging that many people all the time, this idea that you feel the anxiety come up like, oh man, I'm about to go and message the CEO of Shopify and I'm a scrub. Like, why the hell would this guy's gonna think I'm an idiot. I know nothing. And then you just listen to that voice and go, screw you, I'm sending it, right? And always just like playing with that voice versus letting it actually stop you. So then, fast forward to like, I'm sober and this out. I'm just thinking, who are like probably the 20 people that could probably help me with sobriety because I'm fucking at the end of my wits here, right? And it's like, Huberman, it's like, screw it. Like, and same deal. It comes up in my head, you're an idiot. Why would this guy ever respond to you? Why does he care? But inevitably what I've learned too is like, you speak from the heart with people, you're genuine. You're saying like, I have enormous respect for you. I appreciate everything you've done. I've been following your stuff for a while. I just have a quick question for you. I'm going through this struggle. I'm curious if you have any advice. I'm just looking to like kind of take the next best step. I'll take the odds that there's like a 1% chance he responds, right? But sure enough, on this given day, he was feeling great and generous. And I think he's just a generous guy by nature and got back to me and kind of changed my life in that way.
Wow.
It's amazing who sees your DMs. Cause I feel like, what, Gary responded to you 7 years later?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like,
and like your kind of things, right? Like, and I've talked to other folks in your business model and these things, right? It's like, I always like, you should have a hit list of your dream 5,000 guests. And you should hit up, if you want to be serious big league shit, you should hit up that list every 60 days, right? And I mean like, even be open to like one by one, right? Like, what would that look like? Like, you'd probably in 5 years create a top 100 global podcast. The question is, okay, are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
But like, that would do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because one by one, you'd just be hitting these insane people eventually. And people are like, and maybe it's even becomes a thing too. Like, we lose track of with personal brands or these things like, if this video gets, 2,000 views, it's like, that's a lot of people. Like, we were sitting in front of a room of 2,000, we'd be shaking in our boots right now. Yeah. Right? But suddenly we get 2,000 views and we're like, that was shit. It's like, what happened to humanity that suddenly 500 views, 300 views, 100 views was like garbage, and we lose track of like, there's actually leverage there. And so, I think with these things too, it's like, there's opportunities as you do these things. Is like, I think what you guys have over the next guy is like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are also rooting for your success. Like, people can see themselves in you guys because you have like humble beginnings. You're just standing this up and you're getting it going, and you just graduated it 9 years ago, and you're doing your thing, and you're entering your 30s, and you're getting married, starting a family. It's like, oh, like that's how many people are like that. Like, there's a huge subset of humanity that are in similar positions to you, just trying to, get things from, 1 million to 10 million or whatever. And more importantly, like, get a brand from, something to like a household name. I know that's like even a big part of, I feel like when I watch George Heaton stuff, like that kind of like on a mission and sharing it, and you're part of this, and we're kind of climbing the thing together. And what would be your version of that, where people feel like, oh, they got this guest now. Finally they got number 496 on their list,
Yeah.
Like, can you involve it and make it a fun challenge where everyone's like rooting for you too around that?
Oh, I love that.
Could be part of the vlog.
Yeah, exactly. Man, this has been like one of my favorite conversations we've ever had. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 196 with Matt Gray. If you're still here, please hit the subscribe button, drop us a comment, leave us a like, and we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.
For a guy who talks about building systems all day, I was shocked to hear that he doesn't actually like to build systems.
Not a big systems guy.
No, dude.
Just out of necessity.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? You made it, guys. Just so you all know.
Dude, welcome to the after party.
Welcome to the after party. You're all here. Appreciate it. You got the invite. So you're still here. Just know that this is a blessed place to be.
Parents are out of town.
Yep.
We have the house. We're throwing an after party.
Yeah, this is going to be amazing.
Just the two rocks.
Let's talk about this here episode.
What'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of things that we can break down tactically for the rocks. I think that something that I envy about him that I feel like we aren't there yet, obviously, we have built really cool jobs for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just stop, and we're not at a place yet, but I think in 6 months, we will be at a place to where we will have this show running in an episodic feature where we will be able to go film 15 pods and then chill for a second. And I think that's a much more sustainable route, obviously.
Yeah, if you guys are wondering, we recorded this on Tuesday of this week, and today's Thursday.
That's because we love you guys.
Quick turnaround.
We love you guys. We wouldn't let you guys miss a week.
We definitely need to create a system for getting guests more. That also reminds us, if you guys listen to this episode or listen to this podcast in general, and you think you have someone or have an idea or a connection to someone who'd be a great guest,
okay,
DM us.
Let me tell you criteria though, okay? Yeah. I don't want someone random. I'm going to tell you criteria, okay? I either need a forward-facing founder who is creating awesome content and has a brand to back it up, 7-figure brand to back it up. I don't want the little dogs. We're not interested in that. We want people who are building awesome, bigger brands. Or this person is a savage in business. They have crushed it. They've built a huge brand and they are behind the scenes. They're like the CMO or the CEO, and they will actually be able to drop game. They didn't just get lucky and this company, pop because of a random thing in their market. Like, I want someone who is really in the weeds in the game. So if you know someone like that, please. Yeah. Or who else we got?
A creator
who's built a business.
Built a business off the back of their personal brand.
Yes. Ideally, it's YouTube. That is really what we need. If they're a creator, they got to be crushing it on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's what we need. So if you're listening to that and you think of someone right now, send us a DM with them, and I can't wait to chat with you. Dude, quick shout out to Jack.
Yeah.
Rock at the University of Oregon, best school in America, setting us up with a former Nike CMO, which is so sick. So that is where this idea sprouted from. So shout out to Jack for helping us with that connection, because it's just unreal to think about how many of you out there know people in your network that you would love to see on the show. So please help us out there and send this to a friend if you enjoyed this pod with Matt.
Now back to Matt.
Let's keep going.
He batches content like crazy. I thought it was so funny where he's like, I don't want to be waking up in the middle of the night with night terrors of like, what do I got to shoot? And oftentimes I think that is how we operate 505. I think that, if we can incorporate systems, like, it got me thinking we need to create some sort of master Google Doc that really has like brand guidelines and everything that we need to do for each episode, pre-production, while we film, post-production, things that need to be going out. I think systems are the whole key.
Yeah, and again, it's just something that's repeatable. It's like you're doing the same thing over and over. How can you simplify this to then pass it off to someone else to help you be able to do it at the exact same level that you're already doing things at?
Another thing that Matt brought up, which I thought was really interesting, is that he's like, anyone can kind of own their own intersection of the internet and create a $10 million business for it. And I think that a lot of people, especially now, because it seems like everybody's making content and it can seem like every niche or every topic is super saturated, but there's always room, for somebody new and someone unique. And he brings up storytelling and how that really is the one thing to separate yourself, which is so true. And whatever you are doing, whether it is you're creating a digital product, a physical product, you're in business, entrepreneurship of some sort, you're building your personal brand, like just because there's 10 other people talking about the same things as you or are in the same category of your product doesn't mean that you can't stand out and create a very successful business for yourself. But I think it all comes down to telling your story and sharing why you're unique.
I think especially as AI becomes more integrated into our feeds, it's already there, dude. It's already there.
You just showed me something
I just showed you
insane.
something like actually insane. Every single day there's new advancements that makes me question my whole life, and it's all good. But where I go with that is I think real, true human stories that hit on something that we all go through will win. They will rise. They will elevate past all of the noise. Because right now, in my opinion, Instagram has never felt more like just the all sameness. Like I pop on and I'm not really seeing tons of things, and I'm like, that's an awesome piece. I'll get them every now and then. I'm like, oh, this is an awesome creator. But so much of the stuff that I get is either
feels the same.
Yeah, it feels the same.
Okay.
Not in terms of like, oh, it's all terrible content. It just feels very similar. And then I'll get hit with a video. Like you shared me this one kid's video the other day, and I found him too before you. And I'm like, this is refreshing.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels different. It feels elevated. It feels normal.
And slower pace.
Slower paced. It's not like So it's very interesting to notice the patterns that we're seeing and what we're engaging with and what we're liking and sending to one another. And we are online a lot. We're seeing what's working and we are actively posting. So I think though that is going to stay. I think great storytelling will stay, but you got to lean into the things that make you unique because your story can't be replicated.
And I actually really appreciated how Matt brought up multiple personal stories to back up the stuff that he was talking about. He's like, I'm in the trenches. I've done this or I've gone through it. Let me tell you a story about how I fired 23 people in one day and it was the worst day of my life. And I, became like, I think he became depressed after for like 2 months. He said, and I think that is refreshing. And that's something that I didn't know about him before.
You see Matt's content, you see the travel and, all the big wins. And I had no idea about that. And we stalked him for like a month and a half to prepare for this episode. So it's very interesting. I also really enjoyed what he was talking about, embracing messiness early on. And I just think back to the show. Like
even now,
dude, even now, man. Listen, guys, all right. It's hotter than shit in this room because we got humongous lights, these big bright light sources. So dude, we just paid $2,000 for an AC unit, and that's how much we love you guys.
We also want to apologize to Matt.
Poor guy was probably just sweating, just so hot in here.
I'll tell you what, you guys, just didn't think that my dad didn't have AC. Dad does not have central AC, but I think it's because we're close to the ocean.
Yeah, for sure.
It's also kind of an older house.
A lot of those homes that are older, close to the ocean, don't have AC. I mean, we can see the ocean from right outside the house.
So anyways, I was so stoked to move into this room, to turn it into a studio, and it's phenomenal. We've just run into audio issues, and we've also run into it being super fucking hot in here. It's also like not the biggest room, so it's like hard to have multiple people in the room, and so we were deciding, we were like, can we actually keep recording in here? Because I'm not even kidding you guys, like it gets so hot after an hour and a half where like the guest visibly becomes uncomfortable. And I just want to reiterate how sorry I am to Matt, but like, yeah, we're getting an AC unit installed in here so that we can keep it cool, but we didn't know if we had to get like, there's so many different kinds of AC units, and then there's ones that are quieter than others, and so we had to pay a premium to get like the quietest one.
We called our guy Mark, really helped us out.
Yeah, got us a good deal.
Got us all set up, got us a good deal on our AC unit. But if any of you guys know anyone in HVAC to help us set this thing up, I need you to text me ASAP.
Something else that he brought up that I thought was really interesting is how he thinks more like an investor, and he kind of takes the emotion.
I like that a lot.
He takes the emotion out of his decision making, and he's like, okay, we're gonna set a revenue goal and a date, and if we don't hit this revenue goal by this date and we're not enjoying it, maybe then we should stop pursuing it or pivot it. And I think that that's a really intelligent way to go about it. And I think that like if you are starting something new or you're debating whether to continue with it, it's like, yeah, give yourself a deadline or a date of like 6 months down the road by this time. If I'm still feeling this way and we haven't hit our revenue goals and we haven't really seen much traction, maybe it's time to have a discussion of like, is this still going to work for us, or we need to completely pivot, or is there a way to change the business? Like, I love that he's like, we got to disrupt every year. We got to tear the business down and make it better. Like, he's been doing Founder OS for a minute. And so to think that he's still trying to make it better every single year is incredible. And I think that it's something we'll take away and start implementing into 505 of like, yeah, every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks, let's have a fucking whiteboard sesh and figure out what's working, what's not working, and how we can better optimize and be more efficient.
I think we need to bring that big ass whiteboard that
I was
have.
thinking we have
a huge wall. I
big
feel
wall
like that
right
is
there.
that's where we need to whiteboard it up.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's the missing piece here. That is the big missing piece.
Yeah, we gotta whiteboard max. We're not maxing the whiteboard, dude.
We also got to go to a film fest this last week. Dude, we had a great PPD for Alex. We had a great after party for Costa.
Rocks.
And Costi forgot how to focus the camera, man. And it happens to the best of us.
Genuinely, I don't know what happened because
you focused it, right?
Dude, the intro was focused.
Yeah.
Ad read was focused. PPD didn't change anything.
We didn't change nothing, right?
Just recorded a new thing, and for some reason it was super blurry. Sometimes it's been like slightly out of focus, and I'm like, just sharpen it up and like unless you're watching it on TV, you probably can't tell. It was so bad where I was like, no, we can't do it. But anyways, something we talked about. First of all, Alex Costa podcast was awesome. But something we talked about was going to Sam Newton's Film Fest and how you had a horse doc, which now has passed, and you showed it. And you had a really good reaction from it because it was really good.
Thanks, man. It was cool to see. I've never seen work on the big screen. So that was exciting to just see a piece like up there.
You were nervous.
I was very nervous. I blacked out.
Bright.
Blacked out the whole time. Didn't remember anything of how it went. I was just like taken aback by how it looked wide. And then I couldn't stop thinking like that shot should be a little brighter on the big screen. It looked fine on my phone and it's all good. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but I also, it's not a theater the way he shows it.
Yes,
so I don't think that like
it's a projector. Everything would be different, huh?
Every film, like it's not the ideal sound and it's not the ideal visual experience, but it still is really fucking sick to see it live. So I don't think you need to say, oh, that shot was too dark or whatever.
Okay,
I didn't notice that.
That's really good to know. That's really good to know. It was fun.
It's really a Sam issue.
We should go and call Sam, dude.
Yeah.
Love meeting the Rocks. I would give a quick shout out to a few that we met. We met like Cade, Michael, Justin, Armand, another gal named Celeste. There were so many rocks that were there. So it was so cool. And if I missed you, I'm so sorry. But so cool to meet you guys in person. And we appreciate you more than you know, because none of this shit would happen if you guys don't support our show and watch it and send it to your friends. So very cool to hear more about your stories and everything that you guys are up to in this content space. I thoroughly enjoyed just the experience, and it just keeps proving our point that we need to figure out to do something live as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the rocks together.
Yeah, if you guys are a longtime listener of the show, you guys are probably like,
dude, 6 years
stop the cap.
6 years in the making, dude.
Stop the cap.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it for sure.
Yeah, we've been really busy. It's been really hard to focus on anything else. Today we did have our very last call of Pay to Be You, little graduation.
Very fun. It was funny. You played a graduation song.
Yeah, man. Fig and I showed up in a cap and gown. Just kidding. But that was really cool. So glad we got that under our belt, and waitlist has opened up. If you guys do want to learn from us and learn how to build and monetize your personal brands, we have a 6-week live cohort called Pay to Be You that we will be doing again in just a month, which is super exciting.
Few weeks, which is very cool.
So if you've made it to this long in the episode and you're still listening and something you're interested in, hit us a quick DM and just say, yo, what's good with pay to be you?
Boom.
Talk more about it. But other stuff that's interesting. Oh, next week I'm really excited because I'm going to
Where are you going, man?
to Sedona.
Oh, you're
first
going
time.
to Sedona.
So I'm really excited. I have gone back and forth about wanting to start a proper hospitality, like short form video and photo for social media for hospitality, like an agency specifically. And I wanted to do it, and then I was like, nah, I don't really want to do it. But now I'm back on the wanting to do it. So I do want to do it. And Chris Motions actually connected me to the guy who works with this hotel called Ambiente. He's trying to create basically the next version of Booking.com, like his own version, which is cool. And he's like really tapped in with the hospitality space in
Very cool.
Arizona. Anyways, me and Sarah Catherine are going out there, and I'm gonna be filming. Like, it's our first time. We're gonna be in front of the camera, but I'm like creating proper social content for this hotel. And I'm really excited because honestly, like the main reason when I first got into making content was seeing the travel influencers, and mainly it was like Sam Colder, Jay Alvarez, Casey Neistat. And I was like, I want to do that. And part of me, this is really funny. Part of me, when I was younger, or part of me is like really frustrated at myself, but you don't know what you don't know. But part of me now at 30 is frustrated that Kostas at fucking 22 didn't realize, hey, you don't have to be like an influencer to travel the world. Just tap in with the hotels and make content.
Boom.
Because I think we all understand that the hotels are the most expensive thing.
So expensive.
And so I've honestly kind of been getting in my head of like, what the fuck have you been doing? Like, why did you not get on the hotel stuff earlier? But it's never too late. And what's interesting is the guy who's hiring me for this, he told me that he was interested in hiring me out of other creators because he's like, you can do the photo video stuff, but you also are like comfortable in front of the camera with your fiance. And he's like, it's nice that you have kind of a built-in subject. So definitely going to be using that to my advantage. And I feel like you should do the same with Chloe.
Dude, you can start at 40 is what he's trying to tell you.
Well, no, I mean, dude, by 40, I'll have like 20 years in the game, dude. So I'll be set up for success.
That is so funny.
Keep talking shit. You're not going to get invited, dude. Bunch of traveling for Kostas, none for Fig.
This was one
Wait,
of...
speaking of travel.
What?
Did you see they're getting rid of TSA PreCheck and global entry?
Wait, what?
They're pausing it. Like it doesn't exist.
You got to be shitting me.
I'm not even kidding you. I saw a video. I think it started this week.
What?
Dude,
Are you serious?
Dead ass.
Lines at the airport?
Dude, hold on. Okay.
It's actually went into effect. I saw there was a chance or something, but I thought that was like...
okay, wait. Despite initial threats of suspension due to a partial government shutdown and funding lapses, TSA PreCheck remains operational at airports. But something...
I saw this. I saw there was a chance. I didn't know that it had gone through. That's insane.
DHS, which I don't even know what that is, reverses decision to suspend TSA PreCheck and global entry.
Department
due
of
to
Homeland
shutdown.
Security. Okay, good. Okay, so we're good for a little bit.
But I saw a video where this guy was like, yo, no more TSA PreCheck. I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, so it is not. It's still good.
We're still good.
We're still good. Woo!
Still
Airport
good.
experience would have been...
Do you have global entry?
Yeah, but I didn't go do the damn interview. I got to go do it. I like did all the online stuff and then tried to get an interview, and then I showed up and they're like, I have my ID, and they're like, you need your passport. I'm like, awesome. So I drove here for nothing.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes, you got to bring your passport. So if that's you and you're trying to get it,
Hey, that makes sense.
don't forget your passport. Does make
Like
sense.
an international
Thought
thing.
my ID would be chill.
Yeah, no.
Because we're in LA, California. It's a California DMV thing. I don't know, dude.
I went to the DMV not too long ago to get an updated license, and I was like, oh, I'll get the real ID too. And I needed to print out.
Yeah, you got to print. They're like, oh, you can't show a photo.
You got to print out everything.
Yeah, they couldn't have a more back-assward system at the DMV.
Dude, DMV sucks.
Those guys are all confused. All just so unhappy.
Yeah.
I've never...
Yeah, no one's happy at the DMV.
No one's stoked. You can even try to kill them with kindness. Like, you shut your mouth and get in the corner.
Yeah.
Go sit in your seat and wait for your number to be called. Epic pod though. Seriously, episode 196. You guys are still here. Please go tell a friend about the pod and go let us know if you got a potential guest for us. Help us out. Help us build the systems. Go check out Stan and we'll see you guys all next week. Peace.